Chapter 1444. Lu Chen's method of illumination was different from the others. There were flames under his feet, and wherever he walked, the flames would burn for a moment, providing light for their team. The little golden carp was more casual in leading the way, but the overall direction was still towards the depths of the splitting heaven holy land. Rhubarb helped the little golden carp avoid the chaos beasts. Its perception of spirit energy was stronger than before, so it was not difficult to avoid the chaos beasts. After walking for a few days, Lu Chen felt that the spirit energy around them was getting denser and denser. It was just that in the darkness, Lu Chen could still see some sparks of fire. It should be the people of other teams who were exploring here. Lu Chen thought about the splitting heaven holy land. The deeper they went, the more abundant the chaos spirit energy was. After an unknown amount of time, Rhubarb suddenly said, "Boss, the chaos beasts in front are very strong. They are several times stronger than the ones outside, and they are very densely packed. We can't go any further." They had been walking for a few days. Lu Chen thought about it and decided to set up camp for the time being. The little golden carp came to Lu Chen's side and hesitated for a moment before saying, "Benefactor, after coming ashore, my ability to find treasures seems to have weakened a lot. I haven't felt anything strong during this time." Lu Chen frowned and said, But there doesn't seem to be a water source here." "There is. I can feel that there is a water source 100 miles away. If I can enter the water, I can jump between the various water sources in the splitting heaven holy land. However, I will have to leave Benefactor temporarily." Lu Chen frowned and said, "Little golden carp, this is the 8th heaven. If you are alone, I will not be at ease." "Benefactor, I can hide my spirit energy in the water. Others will not be able to find me." The little golden carp said confidently, "Gods also rely on spirit energy to track. If they can't sense my spirit energy, they won't be able to find me." Lu Chen suddenly remembered that when the little golden carp had brought him to Kong Lianxin's treasure trove, the surrounding beasts did not have any hostility toward it. It was as if they did not see it. Even his own spirit energy had reached the 8th level. If the little golden carp had not poked its head out of the lake in front of the immortal spirit grotto heaven, he would not have sensed the little golden carp's existence. "Is this really okay? Benefactor, everyone is very powerful. Little golden carp will not disappoint you. Please give me a 10,000 world sound transmitting talisman. If I find anything, I will inform you to look for it." Since the little golden carp was so confident, Lu Chen gave a blank voice transmission talisman to the little golden carp. "Benefactor, you still need to help me lure away the chaos beasts in front." Lu Chen nodded. "Alright. Coincidentally, the chaos beasts in front of us are blocking the other exploration teams. I was just about to clear out a place to cultivate." Finally, the battle was about to begin. Little Hairy Ball and the others were all eager to give it a try. After putting out the bonfire, Lu Chen carefully moved forward with the 5 beasts. About 1,000 meters away, Rhubarb had already issued a warning. "Boss, 2,000 meters ahead, there are more than 10 chaos beasts. This is already the smallest group." Lu Chen nodded and took out his god-slaying spear. "I can feel it too. If there are too many people now, it'll be easy to alert the enemy. I'll lure them over. You guys stay here and prepare. Divine Demon Symbiosis. Divine Demon Observation Heaven's Eye." Lu Chen moved carefully until he was about 200 to 300 meters away from this group of chaos beasts. The chaos beasts here were obviously of a higher level than the ones that the ghoul team had killed. Their bodies were 1/3 bigger. Lu Chen pondered for a moment. Although he could easily break through the chaos beasts' spirit shields, their attacks and defenses were still very strong. The weaker chaos beasts in the periphery could still take 2 or 3 attacks from White Bones and Withered Claw even if their spirit shields were broken. The most ideal situation was to lure fewer chaos beasts. As he thought about this, Lu Chen found 2 chaos beasts that were further away from the group and prepared to attack. Suddenly, the ground beneath Lu Chen's feet exploded. Right in front of Lu Chen, a chaos beast suddenly appeared. Netherworld said that chaos beasts underground were hard to guard against. Lu Chen finally understood. Before this, he really did not feel anything at all. Seeing that an enemy had suddenly appeared in front of him, If this fellow attracted the surrounding chaos beasts, even Lu Chen would be in danger. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Reflexively, his spear had already pierced forward. Great Void Arm. Attacking the Void God-destroying spear, Star Destroyer. This chaos beast did not expect its spirit shield to be pierced by Jiang Yi's spear. Its body was pushed back tens of meters. The chaos beast roared, attracting the attention of the surrounding chaos beasts. Not good. I've been discovered. Following that, from the intensity of the tremors, it seemed like there were many more chaos beasts charging towards Lu Chen. Lu Chen hurriedly turned around and used his 9 void steps. He shouted, "Little beast, run." After a few teleportations, Lu Chen was already in front of the 5 beasts. "Dad, what's going on? The ground is shaking so much. I've attracted chaos beasts. There are many of them. You guys come back first. If you get separated here, it will be troublesome." Lu Chen hurriedly kept his 5 beasts and frantically ran away. However, chaos beasts had one ability, which was to lock onto their prey. It was somewhat similar to furball. No matter which direction Lu Chen ran in, the chaos beast that Lu Chen had fought with before would definitely catch up with him. Although the other chaos beasts had not fought with Lu Chen before, they could actually track their own companions and achieve the effect of tracking Lu Chen. Roar! Lu Chen could already feel a strong spiritual force behind him that was about to crash down. Lu Chen did not dare to continue fighting. He could only dodge. However, if he dodged early and the other party followed him again, he would have to dodge the moment its fists landed. Only then would he have a chance of survival. At this critical moment, Lu Chen shouted angrily, "God's descent." When he was running away earlier, Lu Chen had already tried. God's descent could not jump out of the sacred grounds. However, God's descent's range of movement was far greater than the 9 void steps and the triple door. In an instant, Lu Chen was already tens of kilometers away. However, the disadvantage of jumping a long distance was also revealed at this moment. Just as Lu Chen appeared, Lu Chen looked around and saw that he was surrounded by chaos beasts. Not only that, but the chaos beasts that were chasing him also appeared in this area. At this moment, Lu Chen finally understood why furball was so scary. In it, I can't shake it off. A chaos beast in front of Lu Chen saw Lu Chen and immediately pounced on him. Void attack. Shatter the void. Lu Chen attacked as fast as lightning. He beat the chaos beast back first. However, he could not kill the chaos beast instantly. Now, there were chaos beasts that could track Lu Chen. Lu Chen cursed under his breath. There are more and more of them. Oh no, I'm doomed. Benefactor, go to the water source. Quick. Little Golden Carp's voice suddenly sounded. Water source. If Little Golden Carp could hide its spiritual power, this would be his only chance to escape. God's descent. God's descent. God's descent. After a few jumps, countless chaos beasts were following closely behind Lu Chen. Of course, Lu Chen did not have the time to count. He only felt that the ground was shaking more and more. Every time he stepped on the ground, the chaos beasts would attack him. Boss quick. The water source is 20 kilometers to the north. There is a huge water source there. After many teleportations, the number of chaos beasts that were chasing Lu Chen directly increased to tens. This time, just as he stepped on the ground, the other party's attack landed on him. His situation was getting more and more dangerous. He could not stop for even a moment. He did not even have time to block the attacks. God's descent. Lu Chen shouted. Just as the chaos beast's huge fist was about to land on him, Lu Chen disappeared from his original spot again. Chapter 1445. After revealing himself this time, Lu Chen suddenly realized that he was in the water. The chaos beast did not follow him. Benefactor, this is strange. I did not hide your spiritual power, but the chaos beast only followed us to the shore and did not follow us. No, this water seems different from normal water. This is heavy water. At that moment, Lu Chen was indeed feeling immense pressure. Normally, he did not need to use much energy to swim underwater. However, in this place, after swimming for a while, he was already feeling tired. For Lu Chen to feel so exhausted, one could only imagine how dense the water was. Benefactor, the clear water pearl can help you relieve the pressure. There is a land area in front. Just swim there. Be careful, there is something underwater. Benefactor, do not dive too deep. Even if Lu Chen wanted to dive now, he did not dare to. This pressure was making him suffer. He could only swim toward the land with all his might. Fortunately, no matter what, Lu Chen was relieved. At least the Chaos Beast did not follow him. More than 10 hours later, Lu Chen finally reached the so-called island. Exhausted, he crawled onto dry land and lay there panting with exhaustion. After resting for a while, Lu Chen regained some strength. He began to carefully inspect the island. The island was not big. It was only a few square kilometers. What was strange was that it was actually covered in vegetation. There were no chaos beasts on the island. This was definitely good news. I finally escaped. Lu Chen let out a long sigh. I was too careless. Chaos beasts are indeed difficult to deal with. If I could not kill them instantly, once I attracted other chaos beasts, they could chase me to the ends of the earth. Now that he thought about it, Yu Ming and the others had been in the heaven-splitting Holy Land for so long, but every time they went hunting, it was as if they were treading on thin ice. This was definitely an experience. After temporarily escaping danger, Lu Chen summoned the 5 beasts and Lu. Dad, there is a sea in the Holy Land? The little beast looked around strangely. There are plants here? The little golden carp said, sea is just our definition. In fact, there are several huge lakes like this in the Holy Land. Rhubarb thought for a moment and said, this is a space formed when the world was created. The primal chaos element is abundant, and the primal chaos spiritual energy contains all kinds of elements. At the same time, it can transform into all kinds of elements. It's not impossible for it to form a lake. The little beast thought for a moment and nodded. That's true. The Holy Land also has a surface. Although it's a little different from the surface of the outside world, it's still considered an earth element. There's water, earth, and chaos beasts here. It's not surprising for plants to grow here. By the way, Dad, aren't you looking for a safe place to cultivate? I don't think there's a better place than here. Lu Chen frowned. The little critter was right. By the way, little golden carp, you said there's something under the heavy water lake. What is it? The little golden carp thought for a moment and said, they should be chaos beasts too. But according to my guess, the chaos beasts on the ground and the chaos beasts in the water each occupy the land and the water. The heavy water lake is separated by the surface of the lake. The chaos beasts on the ground cannot come close, and the chaos beasts underwater cannot come ashore. It should be safe. Of course, this is just my guess. I'll go down and take a look. After speaking, before Lu Chen could say anything, the little golden carp jumped down from the shore. In midair, she had already changed from her human form to her golden scaled form. Little golden carp. Be careful. This little golden carp, why didn't she say anything? Lu Chen stood beside the reef and waited anxiously. There was almost no light in the surroundings. Lu Chen immediately activated his God-fiend heaven observation eye. Not long later, a golden light flashed on the surface of the lake. Then, the little golden carp poked her head out. Benefactor, it's more dangerous below than we thought. There are many living things. Their forms are different from the chaos beasts on the shore. The deeper we go, the bigger they get. They are all gathering here. It's just that they don't seem to dare to go near the shoal area. Lu Chen said anxiously, come up first. Everyone set up a bonfire in the middle of the island and gathered together to discuss. Based on the current situation, those things underwater might have been lured here by me. Lu Chen's expression was serious. Also, we don't know how many chaos beasts have gathered at the shore where we came from. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, these 2 days, let's see if those things underwater dare to come ashore. If they don't, we still have a chance. Everyone keep an eye on the island. I will be here. If you find anything strange, tell me immediately. For the next 2 days, the 5 beasts each monitored an area and observed the movements of the creatures in the water. 2 days passed. Occasionally, they could see some black shadows moving around the lake. However, the shoal area was still very safe. The little beast even purposely exposed its position to test the reaction of the creatures in the water. Indeed, the black shadows in the water circled around for a long time. They were obviously very interested in the little beast, but they didn't go near it. After receiving this news, Lu Chen and company were basically sure that the island was safe. Since this place is still safe, we will cultivate here now. Lu Chen directly released the Jiutian star to illuminate the nearby area. He sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. Then, he entered the state of Divine Demon Symbiosis and activated the Level 8 Divine Demon Origin cultivation technique. The little beast and company were around Lu Chen. Soon, the little beast and company began to feel bored. Dad, I don't know how long you will cultivate. Let's start cultivating too. Little originator, we are cultivating by beating you up. As soon as the little beast finished speaking, the little furball had already pounced on little originator. Little golden carp, let's do it together. We are doing it for little originator. It has leveled up, and it can also increase our attack power and elemental affinity. The little beast enthusiastically invited the little golden carp to join in the group fight. After a while, they suddenly realized that one person was missing. When they turned around, they saw that Rhubarb was sitting beside Lu Chen with his eyes closed. It seemed that he had also entered a state of cultivation. The little beast directly moved Rhubarb over. Rhubarb, what are you doing? Cultivating? Rhubarb opened his eyes and said indifferently, I need to cultivate the heavenly demon art again. If boss can't leave here, I will have to do it. Rhubarb, you said that you have cultivated the heavenly demon art for tens of thousands of years. Can you be faster than Dad if you start from scratch? Squeak, squeak. The little furball thought, let's fight little originator together. Although I have lost my cultivation, I still have my foundation, understanding, and experience. I don't need tens of thousands of years. Don't disturb my cultivation. Go away. After cultivating for a while, Rhubarb opened his eyes. The cultivation of this chaotic spiritual energy is so slow. Are you blocking the spiritual energy? The little beast shook its head weakly. You are not a chaotic spiritual core. Can you cultivate chaotic spiritual energy directly? Speaking of chaotic spiritual energy, everyone looked at Lu Chen again. At this moment, the surrounding spiritual energy was actually like visible black ribbons, gathering towards Lu Chen from the surroundings. The black ribbons caressed Lu Chen's body like silk. What's going on? The little beast widened its eyes in shock. Rhubarb was also shocked. Spiritual energy turning into silk. Boss's cultivation speed is at a tremendous pace. Chapter 1446. Lu Chen had never experienced such a smooth cultivation. When he cultivated in the past, the spirit core would transform ordinary spirit chi into chaotic spirit chi. But here he was surrounded by chaotic spirit chi, which could be directly upgraded without any transformation. It was as if this was the most suitable place for him to cultivate. Chaotic spirit chi poured into Lu Chen's body endlessly, and the chaotic spirit core was quickly replenished by the origin spirit chi. The spirit chi gathered in the spirit core and condensed into a liquid state, which then flowed through his body and tempered it. In the heaven-opening Holy Land, the flow of time could not be seen, but the little beast and the others could feel the passage of time. The chaos beasts in the water did not come ashore, but the surrounding water became more and more turbulent, as if a large number of chaos beasts in the water had surrounded them. The little beast and the others finally stopped playing around and began to cultivate seriously. There was nothing to eat here, and there were no beast cores, so the little furball and the little beast attacked the little originator to increase its power. The little golden carp would occasionally disappear until it came back from the water a few days later, bringing back some food for the little beast and the others. The little golden carp could use the water as a channel to jump and travel, but it did not have combat power and did not dare to be discovered, so it could only find some wild fruits. But it was better than eating nothing here. The spirit chi in the heaven-opening Holy Land was abundant, but it was too difficult for others to refine except for Lu Qin. In the end, Rhubarb gave up cultivating the ultimate heavenly demon technique and was asked by Little Green to help. Little Green said that this place was in the chaotic world, and there were water and water elements, so they might be able to find the legendary ancestor of all herbs. However, the ancestor of all herbs could escape through the earth, so they needed Rhubarb's help to track it down. Rhubarb, do you know about the unworldly abomination? Little Green pushed aside the vegetation on the ground and searched carefully. Rhubarb followed Little Green, and after thinking for a while, he said, "It's about Xiaomin's body. I remember that she needs the flower of the underworld, the reincarnation red lily, the sky-mending stone powder, the blood of the war god, and the wings of the divine phoenix. I have found the first two. It's just that the remaining 4 herbs are all extremely difficult to obtain. Coming back from the dead is also a heaven-defying path. The difficulty is definitely not lower than the path that Boss is taking now." Little Green slowed down a little and sighed. "I know, but it's not just Xiaomin and the medicine boy. In fact, we all want to be by Master's side all the time. However, our spiritual forms are ultimately different from Master's. We can't accompany Master all the time like you." Rhubarb nodded. Apart from Xiaomin, Rhubarb was the second one to follow Lu Qin. Naturally, he knew how the battle pet and ghost pet felt about Lu Qin. "Little Green, I know these 3 medicines," Rhubarb said. The sky-mending stone powder was obtained from the divine sky-mending stone, which is one of the Jiutian treasures. I just don't know where it is now. The divine phoenix feather was obtained from the immortal divine phoenix. Among the Jiutian divine beasts, there are countless phoenixes, but there's only one divine phoenix. It's something that can only be found by chance. The god of war's blood requires the blood of a titled god of war to be effective. In order to obtain the title of god of war, one has to defeat the gods in the battle of the gods. One can only imagine how strong one is. As for the heart of the outer demon, not all hearts of the outer demon are useful. It has to be the heart of the outer demon of supremacy and above to be effective. Little Green suddenly stopped what he was doing and looked ahead in a daze. "If that's the case, I'd better not let Boss take the risk. Little Green, I believe that in Boss's heart, you and Xiaomin are already his family." Rhubarb said, "Boss has many things to do, but he definitely won't forget about you and won't back down in the face of difficulties. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the boss we know." Lu Qin didn't know how long he had been cultivating for. At this moment, he only felt a warm current flowing through his body. His bones were cracking slightly, and his muscles were contracting more. There was an indescribable comfort all over his body. It was as if his entire body contained endless energy. "I broke through." Lu Qin widened his eyes and looked at his hands. His skin was more delicate than before, as smooth as a newborn skin. His vision was a few centimeters lower than before, and it seemed like he had become shorter again. "Gods are getting bigger and bigger, but why am I getting smaller and smaller?" Lu Qin shook his head. When Little Beast and the others saw that Lu Qin had woken up, they stopped cultivating and ran to Lu Qin. "Dad, how is it?" Lu Qin pondered for a moment. 1.5 years had passed. Seeing how anxious Little Beast and the others were, Lu Qin smiled and looked at his badge. 3-star Wild Divine Demon Human Emperor, variant. "Dad, you rose by 1 star in 1.5 years. That's too powerful. Your combat power should be comparable to a 3-star or 3-star lesser god now." Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, "I haven't met one before, but in terms of attributes, I'm confident that I won't lose to a 4-star lesser god. It's just that there's still a gap between the extreme human Tao and divine techniques." Lu Qin stood up and looked at the turbulent lake with the help of the Jiutian star's light. "Perhaps these chaos beasts in the water can help me cultivate." "Little Beast, little furball, you haven't eaten meat in a long time, right?" Lu Qin said and disappeared on the spot. The next moment he was already in the water. Great Ravager Sweep. Lu Qin immediately sent out a wave of sword aura. The chaos beasts that were hibernating in the water were instantly awakened, and the entire lake became restless. Under the water, Lu Chen immediately activated his divine demon observation eye, dragon god form, and mental demon form. He saw a huge black shadow in front of him shooting toward him. He couldn't run now. In order to improve his extreme human Tao, he had to stimulate his own potential and break through his own limits. A few of the fastest chaos beasts were already in front of Lu Chen. They opened their mouths like piranhas and bit down on Lu Chen. Emptiness of gods and demons arm. Attacking the void, god-slaying spear, rapid shadow spear. Lu Chen attacked as fast as lightning and pierced the heart of a chaos beast. Using the rapid shadow spear's innate ability to teleport, Lu Chen avoided a wave of chaos beasts' attacks and severely injured a few at the same time. Attacking the void, sky-piercing sword. Lu Chen knew that many chaos beasts had already locked onto him and immediately launched a second wave of attacks. One of the chaos beasts that was injured earlier was once again hit by Lu Chen's spear and pierced through its body. Lu Chen used his god-slaying spear to lift the heavily injured chaos beast out of the water and threw it in front of Little Beast and the others. Rhubarb was indeed the Black Demon Supreme. Its reaction was very fast. Once it saw that there was meat to eat, it was the first to pounce. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Little Furball saw this half-human, half-fish creature and immediately went to eat. Meat. There's meat to eat. Little Beast's eyes turned green. It grabbed Rhubarb's tail and pulled Rhubarb back. Its eyes were still fixed on Little Furball, who was eating crazily. Little Furball, eat slowly. The Chaos Core is mine. Rhubarb was the first to attack. Now he couldn't get a spot. He could only find a spot and grab a piece of meat to eat. However, not long after, a second chaos beast was thrown to the water. Little Furball immediately abandoned this one and rushed toward the new prey. Little Beast shouted excitedly, "Huh, Dad, this chaos core tastes really good. Get more." Chapter 1447. A few hours later, Lu Chen suddenly jumped out of the water, followed by hundreds of chaos beasts. This scene stunned the little beast and the others. Hundreds of chaos beasts pounced, and Lu Chen shouted, "Divine travel!" In an instant, Lu Chen was already on the shore. He panted heavily and looked back. Those chaos beasts finally stopped chasing. Lu Chen exited his great virtual form. These guys are really hard to deal with. It seems like it will take some time to get out of here. Fortunately, Lu Chen's gains from this trial were still not bad. Not only did he get a large amount of food for the little beast and the furball, but his human Tao extremity and God's advent had also improved to varying degrees. Just as Lu Chen was resting, he suddenly felt a myriad world voice transmission talisman react. He found this voice transmission talisman. Solipsistic, this is Bone Demon. I have 2 pieces of news that I think you might be interested in. A few days ago, a few lower gods came to Netherworld to ask about your whereabouts. They don't seem to have good intentions. You have to be careful in the Splitting Sky Holy Land. Also, 6 months later, the divine realm of Zizhou will hold the Battle of the Gods that occurs once every 50 years. The prize seems to be related to the divine demon fate-defying set. If you are interested, you can come and find me. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He said to the voice transmission talisman, "The prize is related to the life-defying set?" He didn't expect the voice transmission talisman to respond immediately. "Solipsistic, you're here. Yes, I know that you have collected 7 pieces of the life-defying set. There is also a piece of the life-defying set in the 8th heaven called the Soul of the God and Demon. However, there is little news about this Soul of the God and Demon. One of the prizes for the Battle of the Gods in Zizhou seems to be a clue." Lu Chen frowned. What a coincidence. He had just arrived in the 8th heaven, and the prize for the latest Battle of the Gods was news about the Soul of the God and Demon? Considering that someone seemed to be looking for him, it meant that someone in the 8th heaven was paying special attention to him. Could there be a connection between the two? However, even if this coincidence seemed more like a deliberate attempt to lure him in, Lu Chen had to go. The life reversal of God and Demon was the core of Lu Chen's combat power. Other than the ethereal equipment, he had to find a way to obtain the soul of God and Demon. "Bone Demon, do you know who is looking for me? How's his strength?" "They are all from the heavenly shrine. I can't see through their strength. In order to enter the heavenly shrine, one has to be at least a 5-star lesser deity. When they mentioned you, their attitudes weren't friendly at all. Yu Ming was under pressure and couldn't deceive them. However, he only said that he had teamed up with you to hunt in the heaven-splitting Holy Land. He didn't say that you returned to the heaven-splitting Holy Land alone. I hope you don't blame him. However, I'm worried that if they continue to investigate, it shouldn't be difficult to find out that you didn't come out at all. Lu Chen frowned. The heavenly shrine? What was that place? Don't tell me there are also sects in the divine domain? It's not a sect. It's the pantheon system of the Heavenly Slaughter Organization, one of the 8 core deities. The pantheon system is beneficial to obtaining more power of faith. A large world often doesn't believe in a single deity, but in a pantheon system. The pantheon system allows the deities in the system to share the power of faith of multiple worlds. The benefits are greater than controlling a small world. Moreover, there are still battles in the divine domain. Where there is competition, there will definitely be forces. Even deities like us are the same. Solipsistic, I can't explain it clearly in the voice transmission talisman. You can come to my world of faith. Whatever you want to know, I will tell you. Little Beast looked at Lu Chen with an exaggerated expression that said, "Dad, here's your chance." Lu Chen was also speechless and rolled his eyes at Little Beast. He said to the voice transmission talisman, "I'm currently trapped somewhere in the Holy Land. I'll see if there's a chance to get out in the future." Okay, then you have to be careful. Those people should have already reached the Holy Land. Okay, thank you, Bone Demon. After putting away the voice transmission talisman, Lu Chen's expression became serious. As soon as I came to the 8th heaven, someone took out a clue about the God-Fiend fate reversing set. Moreover, it was a battle between deities below 5-star. Little Beast, it seems like there are people in the 8th heaven who especially want to see us. Lu Chen looked at Little Beast and the rest. Heavenly Shrine. Little Beast also frowned. Dad, are you going to the battle of the deities? Lu Chen thought for a while and said firmly, yes. Whether or not it's disadvantageous to me, I can't be sure now. Besides, no matter what they want to do, I must get the clue about the God-Fiend's soul. Then, what about those people who are looking for you? Lu Chen looked at the boundless water and smiled. If they have the ability, they can come here to find me. In the following days, Lu Chen continued to cultivate every day. However, other than cultivating spiritual power, Lu Chen also deliberately entered the water to use the chaos beasts to stimulate his potential and improve his comprehension of the human Tao extremity and God's arrival. At the same time, he also helped Little Beast and the others to increase their strength. Besides that, Lu Chen also began to study the Demon Abyss Sword technique. The sword contains an ancient demon. When the sword is drawn, the demonic aura will appear. It is as if one is in the demon abyss. It will disturb one's mind and destroy one's consciousness. There is only one move in the demon abyss. Everyone cultivates and achieves different results. There are 3 levels of comprehension. The beginner-level demon abyss has average power and is slightly stronger than a top-notch immortal technique. Middle-level demon abyss has initial power and can fight against ordinary divine techniques. It's actually a sword technique that attacks one's consciousness? Lu Chen was rather surprised. This was the first time he had encountered such a technique. Moreover, according to the description of the demon abyss, if one could comprehend the top-notch demon abyss, its power would be stronger than ordinary divine techniques. Even gods and Buddhas would not be able to resist it. There was only one move in the demon abyss. However, if it could really disturb the minds of gods and Buddhas, it could definitely be considered one of the trump cards. There were still 6 months before the Battle of the Gods in Zizhou's divine territory would begin. Lu Chen's elemental physical body was probably not weaker than that of a 5-star lesser deity. However, he had too few divine techniques. With the demon abyss, Lu Chen's chances of winning would be much higher. At this thought, Lu Chen shifted his focus of cultivation to God's arrival, human Tao extremity, and demon abyss. 5 months later, Lu Chen entered the water again to practice. This time, he practiced for 2 whole days. One by one, Lu Chen sent the underwater chaos beasts into the mouths of Little Furball, Little Beast, and Rhubarb. Now that the two beasts had an endless supply of food, their strength increased by leaps and bounds. 2 days later, Lu Chen's head emerged from the water. There are not many underwater chaos beasts left. Follow me and leave the sacred ground. We can leave now? Little Beast was so excited that it danced with joy. They were finally going to leave this godforsaken place. After returning to the land, Solipsistic realized that the chaos beasts that had been occupying the lake's entrance had already dispersed. Lu Chen instantly activated Celestial Demon Symbiosis. His spear was like a dragon as it quickly killed a few chaos beasts nearby. Let's go! As he spoke, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. I want to see who is so interested in us. Lu Chen sent a voice transmission to White Bone. Bone Demon, I'm coming to find you now. Bring me to the battle of the gods to broaden my horizons. Lu Chen's lips curled up slightly. Chapter 1448. Dad, do you think the White Bone spirit is one of them? Little Beastie asked. Lu Chen said indifferently, it's very simple. I just told Bone Spirit to come out now. If she's really from the Temple of Heaven, we should be able to meet them as soon as we go out. Little Beastie frowned. It turned out that Dad hadn't been blinded by women. However, it seemed that with Dad's character, women couldn't deceive him. If she didn't ask for anything, she naturally couldn't deceive him. Just in case, Lu Chen called Little Beastie and the others back for the time being. Sure enough, Lu Chen didn't meet anyone from the Temple of Heaven even after he left the Holy Land. It had been 5 months since the people from the Temple of Heaven came to look for Lu Chen. They couldn't find the island in the lake, so they wouldn't stay here forever. Not long after, they saw Gumei walking toward them in a hurry. Solipsistic, come with me. When they reached a place with fewer people, Bone's spirit stopped and took out a transmission talisman. I don't know if the people from the Temple of Heaven have left. Let's leave this place first and go to the world of my faith. Lu Chen nodded and followed Bone's spirit through the transmission. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had already arrived in a strange world. There was a village in the distance with smoke rising in spirals, but a large area of land was still occupied by cemeteries. The range was far larger than those bustling houses. This is, Bone's spirit smiled slightly. This is the world of the dead. This cemetery is the cradle of the dead. Look at those living people. Aren't they similar to you humans? Lu Chen nodded. Judging from the figures working in the fields, they were indeed very similar to humans. However, their lifespan is only 40 years. When they reach the prime of their life, most of them will. In your words. However, in the world of the dead, it is called new life. Lu Chen frowned. It seemed that these humans were indeed not of the same race as his own. 30% of our undead race came from such undead worlds. As for the other 70%, after the 10,000 races died, they were taken over by the souls of the undead races and became known as the undead race. They have the flesh and bones of 10,000 races, but they are still pure undead. Bone Demon's detailed introduction of the clansmen was an eye-opener for Lu Chen. Come, I'll take you to where I live here. Bone Phantom pulled Lu Chen's hand. With a thought, they arrived at the peak of a snowy mountain. Lu Chen froze for a moment. He thought the Bone Demon's residence was a tomb or something like that. He did not expect it to be a small wooden house on top of a snowy mountain. Are you coming in? Bone Demon smiled at Lu Chen, patiently waiting for Lu Chen's response. Lu Chen nodded and entered the cabin. There was a fireplace in the house with a burning flame, making the small room exceptionally warm. You live here? Bone Demon smiled. The undead race is rather special. Because we don't need to cut off our ties with the mortal world, no matter how high our cultivation is, we want to experience the life of ordinary people. In comparison, before we were reborn, we were more like walking corpses. Sure enough, there were all kinds of strange things in the boundless world. Lu Chen had seen another interesting race. Solipsistically, are you going to participate in the battle of the gods? I'm worried that someone is plotting to lure you over. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, the The god-demon fate reversal is very important to me. I have to go and take a look. But you're immortal after all. As the name suggests, the participants of the Battle of the Gods are all gods. In the past battles of the gods, no matter which divine territory it was in, it was always a 5-star lower god who won in the end. Bone Demon said, "Gods are not like immortal supremes. For mortals, each level of advancement is the result of hundreds or thousands of years of cultivation. Advancing by 1 star makes a huge difference in strength. You're immortal. When you're affected by the heavenly path divine power, it'll be difficult for you to fight against the gods." Lu Chen smiled slightly. "Thank you for the reminder. However, although I'm immortal, I'm not afraid of the gods." A glimmer of light flashed in Bone Demon's eyes. Perhaps she had heard so many stories about Solipsistic, but it was precisely this point about Solipsistic that made her see him in a new light. "Miss Bone Demon, the competition will start in a month. Can I participate?" Lu Chen asked. "Sure. As long as you're not a 5-star lower god, you can participate." Lu Chen asked again, "If I win, will the prize be given to me?" "If you win, they'll have to give you a prize instead. The 8 divine territories are governed by the 8 supreme core gods. This competition is also organized by the god system of the 8 supreme core gods. The purpose is to attract more gods into their own god system. Once they break their promise, who would want to join a god system that doesn't keep its promises? By then, even the power of faith that should belong to them might be taken away." Lu Chen nodded and asked again, "Who are the 8 supreme core gods?" "It's inconvenient for me to mention their names, but you have to remember that the 8 supreme core gods are in charge of the god system. They are divided into the god system, demon system, Taoist system, Buddha system, demon system, spirit system, life system, and death system. They also control 8 types of nature-defying powers. They control the 3 realms and coordinate thousands of races." Lu Chen could not help but ask, "Which system do you belong to?" "I'm not qualified to join the god system yet." The minimum requirements for each god system are slightly different, but basically, you have to be a 5-star lower god or above. Only such gods have their own belief worlds and are qualified to join the system and share the belief worlds with others. Moreover, I might not join the system. I have no intention of fighting for anything. It's not bad to be a carefree and happy god. Lu Chen was indeed a little confused about the world of gods. Bone Demon seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "By the way, Solipsistic, during the Battle of the Gods, you must remember one thing." "What is it?" "Theoretically, the Battle of the Gods is a free-for-all. However, because the strongest 5-star lower gods are almost all members of the 8 great god system, the battle will often evolve into a contest between the 8 great god systems. When they eliminate the gods of the other systems, there will be internal competition in the end. As for you, it seems that you won't be recognized by any of the systems. It's very likely that you'll fight to the end alone." Lu Chen silently remembered Bone Demon's advice. "I'll let you stay here for now. If you need anything, you can call me using the voice transmission talisman at any time." Bone Demon stole a glance at Lu Chen's reaction. Seeing that Lu Chen did not object, Bone Demon was a little disappointed. There was still more than half a month before the Battle of the Gods in Zizhou's god territory. Lu Chen still had some time to cultivate. He no longer needed to practice actual combat. He could only absorb the life and death spirit qi in this world where life and death were reversed. 20 days later. On this day, Bone Demon arrived in this world. In the snow, the white-haired man opened his eyes slightly. He saw that other than Bone Demon, 2 other people had come together. Solipsistic. Netherworld arrived in front of Lu Chen without touching the ground. You really want to participate in the Battle of the Gods as a mortal?" Withered Claw also arrived in front of Lu Chen. "Brother Du Kuang, in the Battle of the Gods, I'm afraid that you'll become the target of everyone. You have to think twice. Why don't you hunt with us in the Holy Land and slowly raise your cultivation?" Lu Chen took a deep breath. He knew that today was the day of the Battle of the Gods. He slowly stood up, his white hair dancing in the wind and snow. He looked at his palms. "Thank you for your concern, but I'm the human emperor of the gods and demons. Why would I be afraid of being targeted? Even if it's a battle of the gods, even if it's a trap set by someone, I still want to participate. Chapter 1449. Today was the day of the battle of the gods. Gu Mei and the others accompanied Lu Qin to an unknown planet. The fact that Gu Mei and the others were willing to accompany Lu Qin made Lu Qin look at them in a new light. After all, Lu Qin was not a popular person in the divine realm. You Ming, Withered Claw, White Bones, you should go back. I'm afraid that someone deliberately lured me here for this battle of the gods. I don't know if the other party is a friend or foe. If you get too close to me, I'm afraid that you'll be implicated in the future, Yu Ming said. Yu Ming said, Brother Du Kuang, you also said that we don't even know whether the other party is a friend or a foe. If we don't even dare to send you off, wouldn't others laugh at us for being cowards? Although we're not strong, how can we be so cowardly as people who pursue martial arts? Besides, White Bones and Yu Ming. Gu Mei said anxiously, interrupting Yu Ming. She then said to Lu Qin, Brother Kuang, we've been in the divine realm for some time. Even if someone wants to harm you, they won't implicate us. You can rest assured. Lu Qin looked at these three undead clan members in a new light. However, Gu Mei calling him Brother Kuang made him feel a little awkward. Since they were unwilling to leave, Lu Qin did not force them. Walking on the road, Lu Qin found that this world was suitable for living. However, he did not see any residents here. Where are the original residents? Lu Qin asked curiously. They've been exterminated, Yu Ming said. Some worlds refuse to believe in their gods for some reason. The gods in charge of their worlds will exterminate the local creatures and migrate new residents here to reproduce. It's also possible that it's like this place, becoming a battle of the gods in exchange for a new world. Lu Qin frowned. Because they did not believe in gods, they were exterminated directly. Speaking of which, were these the so-called gods? In the eyes of gods, mortals were just like ants. Not long after, they arrived at a huge plain that was surrounded by mountains that stretched for thousands of miles, forming a naturally huge arena. The entire plain was covered by a transparent light shield. This light shield was not the circular one that Lu Qin had seen before. Instead, it was a cylindrical light shield with no seal. It surrounded the plain on all sides, but there was no peak. This should be some kind of defensive array. Thousands of contestants had already gathered outside the defensive array. Brother Du Kuang, you will need to go and have your godhead tested first. Once you meet the requirements, you will be able to obtain the token. With the token, you will be able to enter the battlefield of the gods, Yu Ming said. You saw the 9 stars heavenly array, right? That array is very powerful. You must be careful. Lu Qin frowned. What's so special about the heaven-reaching array? Yu Ming explained. First of all, once the battle of the gods begins, once you leave the array, you'll be considered to have lost the battle. Also, this is the most important point. There are many experts in the battle of the gods, and the 5-star lower gods have similar strength. If no one is willing to make the first move, it will cause the battle of the gods to drag on for a long time. In order to shorten the duration of the battle of the gods, this 9 stars heavenly array was created. You see, the 9 stars heavenly array does not have a peak. Above it corresponds to the 9 star clusters of heaven and earth. Among these 9 star clusters, there are 8 star clusters that correspond to the 8 god systems. After the battle of the gods begins, the stars will move, and the 8 star clusters will illuminate the heavenly array. When the star clusters illuminate, the corresponding god system strength can borrow the power of the star clusters to increase their battle power by 20% to 30%. When the time comes, you must be careful to avoid the attack. Lu Qin frowned slightly. Out of the 9 star clusters, only 8 star clusters are effective. What about the last one? There's still one that is useless. Withered Claw said, the 9th star cluster is called Polar Star. That star cluster does not increase the strength of the 8 god systems. In the past, when this star cluster passes through the 9 stars heavenly array, it is usually the time for the 8 god systems to recover. Big Brother Kuang, this is a star map. Take a look and you will remember which star cluster passes through the heavenly array. Bone Enchantress took out a map and handed it to Lu Qin. Lu Qin carefully looked at it. Each star array had its own characteristics and was not difficult to identify. Alright, let's go and test the Godhead first. Lu Qin asked, won't you know after taking a look at the badge? A high star god can also sense the Godhead of a low star god. What's the point of testing? Withered Claw smiled. Brother Du Quang might not know this, but a title is determined by a person's characteristics. Because of this, a title will often reveal a person's characteristics. Moreover, it is inevitable that there will be casualties in the battle of the gods. Some people do not want others to know their title, so they will only test their Godhead and not reveal their title. The test is more accurate. We can rule out people who use special methods to hide their strength and sneak into the battle of the gods. In any case, the test will be quick. We will take you there. The four of them arrived at the testing site. In front of a strangely shaped rock, two dignified gods stood on the left and right. They glanced at Lu Qin and frowned slightly. You don't have a Godhead? Lu Qin calmly looked at the gods in front of him. That's right. Can you give me the badge now? It will save me the trouble of testing it. The two exchanged glances and said, we don't have the final say. You can test it. Lu Qin frowned slightly. This testing stone, what is the principle behind it? How does it test the Godhead? One of the guards indifferently said, this is a God's Might stone. It is formed by absorbing primal chaos spiritual chi from the inner region of the heavenly creation Holy Land. It is the spirit of the heavenly creation Holy Land and can sense the God's might. It can easily identify the grade of our Godhead. This thing actually came from the heavenly creation Holy Land. However, since it was a test for the Godhead, and Lu Qin did not have a Godhead, the guard could finally breathe a sigh of relief. After destroying so many testing stones, he could finally test it normally. Lu Qin followed the instructions and stood half a foot in front of the strange stone. The God's Might stone immediately reacted. Black fog emitted from the God's Might stone and surrounded Lu Qin. Logically speaking, the God's Might stone should be able to determine Lu Qin's Godhead with a little observation. However, the primal chaos spiritual chi lingered around Lu Qin, and after a short moment, it actually drilled into Lu Qin's body. When the surrounding gods saw this, they were all dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did the primal chaos spiritual chi enter that person's body? Could it be that he absorbed it? That's impossible. How can someone directly absorb primal chaos spiritual chi? No, this is a God's Might stone. It is used to test the Godhead. If he really absorbed it, wouldn't it become a cultivation treasure? Lu Qin could clearly feel that the God's Might stone was still continuously transferring spiritual chi into his spirit core. What's the meaning of this? Lu Qin was also baffled. What happened to the agreed test? How did it become absorbing spiritual chi? The spiritual chi seemed to have found its way home and rushed into Lu Qin's spirit core, turning into spiritual liquid. Since the spiritual chi was here, Lu Qin naturally would not reject it and accepted it all. Speaking of which, the primal chaos spiritual chi in the God's Might stone was quite dense. This piece of God's Might stone was actually equivalent to cultivating in the heavenly creation Holy Land for a month. Not long after, the surface of the God's Might stone cracked, causing Lu Qin's eyes to bulge and his heart to jump. Sure enough, he was a natural counter to any kind of testing stone. Chapter 1450. The Divine Might stone had already turned into dark, dry soil, and with a crack in the middle, it shattered into pieces. However, the Divine Might stone contained chaos spiritual energy. If he had the chance to go to the splitting heavens Holy Land, he would definitely look for it. Lu Qin had already foreseen this outcome. Now, he could only smile awkwardly at the two-door gods. Cough cough, this Divine Might stone might be a little old. The two gods frowned. You absorb the chaos spiritual energy of the Divine Might stone. You have a chaos spiritual core? Lu Qin said indifferently, you're in charge of testing my Godhead. Why do you care what kind of spiritual core I have? Although Lu Chen did not answer directly, he knew in his heart that his chaos spiritual core had already been exposed. Now that his spiritual core was exposed, his identity was about to be revealed. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "Why don't you change to another divine might stone?" Easy for you to say. This divine might stone is extremely rare. Are you really going to treat us as a granary? You can't take the test and can't get a token. Lu Chen frowned. If he couldn't take part in the battle of the gods, then there would be no news about the divine demon's soul. Suddenly, Lu Chen sneered. "If I can prove that my godhead is not at the level of a 5-star lower god, will you let me take part in the competition? As long as you meet the conditions, we will naturally let you enter." Hearing that, Lu Chen raised his hand. Yu Ming hurriedly grabbed Lu Chen's hand and said in a low voice, "Brother, you can't be thinking many people have never seen you before. If you reveal your identity now, I'm afraid that in the battle of the gods, you will become their first opponent to be eliminated." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Brother Yu Ming, the attribute of my spiritual core has already been exposed. My identity is also on the verge of being exposed. There is no better way now. The divine demon's soul is too important to me. I can't care about so many things." After saying that, Lu Chen dispersed the spiritual energy fog in front of his badge. The two guards and the surrounding crowd's gazes all fell on Lu Chen's chest. There was a line of words written on his badge. 3-star wild divine demon human emperor, variant, whoosh. The surrounding gods instantly burst into an uproar. Human sovereign? Why are there mortals in the realm of the gods? Wait, could he be the 9 realms path to heaven, the heaven-defying beyond immortals? The fiend god human sovereign, lone tyrant. He's the solipsistic cultivator, the one who turned the lower realm upside down and collapsed the order of the human race. He actually really came to the divine realm. At first, when there were rumors, I didn't believe them. I didn't expect them to be true. I've never seen anyone in the human sovereign realm. These deities were all experienced and knowledgeable. They controlled a part of the world, but when they saw Lu Chen, they were still shocked. In the face of everyone's shock, Lu Chen calmly looked at the two guarding gods. "Excuse me, can I enter the battlefield of the gods now?" The two of them looked at each other again, and one of them smiled. "So you are the rumored person who defies the heavens. Aren't you going against us? Mortals are participating in the battle of the gods. This is the first time in millions of years. Interesting." After that person finished speaking, he directly threw a badge to Lu Chen. "Lad, there are many people who want your life. I just hope that you won't be too far off from the rumors. You won't be able to last half an hour before being crushed to death by the gods." Lu Chen caught the badge and sneered. "You don't have to worry about this." He finally got the participation badge, but Lu Chen had also paid a high price. Now that his identity had been made public in advance, Lu Chen had put himself in the light for this badge. And his enemies were all in the dark. "Brother Du Kuang, I think you should give up on this opportunity." Netherworld pondered over it repeatedly and shook his head. "Your current situation is too dangerous. Not to mention the power behind the scenes that led you here, the heavenly shrine, and many ordinary gods. In their hearts, mortals are not qualified to compete with them." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Since I'm here, I might as well take things as they come. Brother Netherworld, although I'm in the light, there are ways to play in the light. I might not necessarily lose." Sigh, Brother Du Kuang, senior immortals are the lowest existences in the divine territory, let alone a mortal like you. I don't know what to say. Lu Chen patted Netherworld's shoulder. "Brother Netherworld, thank you for your concern. I will be more careful." Bone Demon had been by Lu Chen's side. Several times, she wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that Lu Chen was about to enter the battlefield, she finally could not help but call out to Lu Chen. "Brother Du Kuang, you have to be more careful." Lu Chen smiled at her. If Bone Demon was not from the undead race, she would really be a good girl. "All right, the battle of the gods is about to begin. I'll go in first." After saying that, Lu Chen turned and walked toward the 9 stars heaven array. More and more gods entered the battlefield. Even though the battlefield was huge, The gods were still far away from the others. However, from the approximate positions of the participants, one could still vaguely see the distribution of the 8 major systems. Gods of the same system were separated by 200 to 300 meters, but the distance between the 8 major systems was a full 1,000 meters. This time, there were about 3,000 people participating in the Battle of the Gods. 3,000 gods. I never thought that I, Lu Chen, would one day fight against 3,000 gods. Lu Chen shook his head. Thinking back to when he had just entered the Jiutian, he probably would not have dreamed that such a day would come. Lu Chen noticed that many people were sizing him up. They probably had some thoughts about him. However, Lu Chen did not mind. From the moment he showed his badge, he knew that this would be the result. Taking advantage of the fact that the battle had not yet begun, Lu Chen raised his head and looked at the sky above. Above the heaven array was a sea of stars. At this time, there were a few scattered stars in the sea of stars. It seems that the star clusters will only appear after the Battle of the Gods starts and the array is officially activated. Matching the star clusters was the key to victory. Although there was no star cluster corresponding to himself, Lu Chen still had to pay attention to the changes in the star clusters at all times to determine the movements of the gods of the various systems. Netherworld and the other 2 were floating in the air outside the array. In fact, there were many gods watching the battle in the air. Such a competition would naturally attract a large number of gods. White Bones, Netherworld suddenly said, "Did you give that thing to Brother Du Kuang to drink?" Bone Demon nodded, but she seemed a little ashamed. "I always felt that we were cheating him by secretly giving him that medicine. If he becomes like that in the future, will he hate me?" "Hate? He should thank you. Besides, I already said that he won't like your current appearance." No, not your current appearance, but your original appearance. Can't you see this point?" Withered Claw said. The person involved is confused, but the onlooker sees everything clearly. Netherworld, don't talk about White Bones. However, even if we give him that medicine, I'm afraid that when the Battle of the Gods starts, a mortal like him won't even leave behind a skeleton. At this moment, the 9 stars heaven array suddenly emitted a silver light that exploded between the heavens and the earth. Everyone, regardless of whether they were spectators or participants, was on full alert. The Battle of the Gods had begun. Chapter 1451. The moment the Battle of the Gods began, Lu Chen noticed that the stars in the sky had already shifted, and the star palaces had shifted positions. That's fast. Looks like the Jiutian skyward formation has caused the stars to shift. At this point in time, none of the stars had entered the skyward formation's range, but the various gods had already begun to move. The star palaces have yet to return to their positions, so it's fair for everyone. Let's get rid of a few first. Divine Qilin Armor. White Sky God of War Possession. Psychic Beasts. In an instant, all the gods began to use their skills, and the battlefield of the gods became turbulent. Lu Chen also activated Celestial Demon Symbiosis. In his opinion, it was best not to make a move in such a chaotic battle. He was not in a hurry to fight, so he had to defend himself first. While Lu Chen was observing the battlefield, a few figures suddenly appeared beside him at the same time. These people were clearly from different factions, but they all chose to cause trouble for Lu Chen at the same time. Celestial Demon Human Emperor, I've long heard that you've defied the heavens, but today, you've come to an end. How can there be a place for mortals in the divine territory? Your appearance is an insult to us. How dare a mortal like you interfere in the Battle of the Gods? If you're a mortal, you should stay where you belong. There were a total of 17 gods around him, and they were all eyeing Lu Chen covetously. In the past, they might have started fighting among themselves, but at this moment, they surrounded Lu Chen, obviously intending to kill Lu Chen first. Seeing this, Bone Demon immediately became nervous. As the Netherworld Withered Claw had expected, from the moment the Battle of the Gods began, the solipsistic was bound to become the target of public criticism. Brother Kuang. Surrounded by the gods, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly as his mind raced. The most important thing he needed to pay attention to was the 5-star lesser gods, but the stars were unclear, so they should not be moving at this time. If that was the case, looks like you're looking down on the human emperor? Alright, I'll give you a chance. The infinite fiend god sword and the void god-slaying spear appeared beside Lu Chen at the same time. Behind him, Little Beast, Little Furball, Little Originator, and Rhubarb also appeared. The little beast rubbed its palms together, and a mischievous smile spread across its face. God. The spirit core of a deity, they call it a deity core. Just by hearing the name, you can tell that it's different. Squeak, 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 squeak. The furball said that it missed the taste of the arm of the god of the hunt. Xiao Yuan growled, his fighting spirit soaring. When the gods saw the 3 divine beasts, they couldn't help but frown. It said that the 3 divine beasts of the solipsistic kingdom are extraordinary. They are the essence of heaven and earth, the sky-devouring god-devouring rat, and the beast god. Could that white mouse be the sky-devouring god-devouring rat? Don't get targeted by that white rat. That fellow only eats deities and is very difficult to deal with. To the gods, the thing they feared the most was the furball, so they paid extra attention to the furball's movements. That half-dragon half-dog creature looks a bit like Tengu, but it's a little different from Day Tengu. What kind of divine beast is it? I've never heard of a 4th divine beast in the solipsistic kingdom that can fight. Rhubarb glanced at the group of lower gods and said anxiously, This? Boss, why did you call me out on such an occasion? Lu Chen frowned slightly and asked curiously, Rhubarb, aren't you the demon lord? You shouldn't care about these demigods at all. I don't take them seriously, but it doesn't mean that I can beat them. The matter of the Supreme was a long time ago, and I can't cultivate in the splitting sky holy land. Forget it, I'll support you in spirit. Rhubarb's appearance was indeed somewhat frightening. Standing in front of Lu Chen, it gathered its energy in its danton and roared furiously, You bunch of trash! With the fiend god and human emperor here, we'll kill all gods and Buddhas in our way. My boss said that all of you should come at me together. After provoking the gods, Rhubarb quickly hid behind Junior Originator. Junior Originator's defense was the most terrifying, so it was better to follow Junior Originator. Lu Chen was also speechless. Although Rhubarb was the dark demon sovereign, it seemed that it was only a little bigger than before. However, Rhubarb's roars really had the effect of raising the morale of the gods. Haha, I feel it. Dad, I'll leave the powerful ones to you. Furball, Junior Originator, will pick the soft persimmons. Lu Chen smiled faintly. As expected of the little critter, it could always keep a clear head and make the most correct judgment. Arrogant. A god roared furiously, and his voice shook the heavens and the earth. Suddenly, a burst of terrifying spiritual energy erupted from his body. You fiend god and human emperor, I'll personally twist your head off. Divine skill, heavenly divine arm, star-shattering fist. The surrounding gods were not to be outdone. Together? How arrogant! I'll show you the gap between a mortal and a god. Divine skill, morning sword shadow, sky covering. In the distance, Netherworld and the others did not even dare to watch the next scene. In a corner, the god of hunting was also nervously watching the battle on Lu Chen's side. Once Lu Chen died in the battle, he could take back his divine core miniature and regain his freedom. Solipsistic, your strength was only slightly better than mine. I know that there are 3 3-star lower deities here. I can't imagine how you can survive in such a situation. 800 miles away, a shadow stone was suspended in front of 3 white-haired old men. It was showing the situation of the battle between the gods. At this moment, the shadow stone was only focused on the battle on Lu Chen's side. 3-star human emperor. Hey Taixing, without considering the divine power of the heavenly path, what level of lower deity do you think a 3-star human emperor's strength is equivalent to? A white-bearded old man next to him smiled. Lu Chen defeated a 2-star lower deity, the god of hunting, when he was a 2-star human emperor. That means a 3-star human emperor should be equivalent to a 3-star lower deity. What do you think, worldly Taoist? The third old man swung the horsetail whisk in his hand over his shoulder and said calmly, "It shouldn't be compared like that. Xuanzhen, Tai Xing, don't forget that Lu Chen's human emperor realm is mutated. Back then, he broke through the limit of a 9-star human king and cultivated to the level of an 18-star human emperor. After breaking through to the human emperor realm, I think that his strength should be several times stronger than a normal human emperor. Therefore, a 3-star human emperor might be able to fight a 4-star or even a 5-star lower deity." Tai Xing kept a faint smile on his face. "I forgot that this kid is a mutated human emperor. If worldly Taoist prediction is correct, then he does have the strength to fight for the soul of the god fiend." Xuanzhen frowned slightly. "That's only if he's qualified to fight for it. However, judging from his current situation, I think his chances are slim. Not only has his identity been exposed, but there are also teams of 5-star lower deities in the 8 major systems. Even if he fights alone, I'm afraid he won't be able to win against the 8 gods," worldly Taoist said calmly. "Whether he's that person or not, we don't need to speculate. Let's see how he performs in this battle and whether he can survive." At this moment, a terrifying flame burst out from the battlefield and shot up into the sky. A white-haired man stood in the air. His demonized left arm looked like the body of a demon god. The ultimate sword in his right hand was intertwined with black and white colors. "God, right? Remember, before the human emperor, I'm the king, and you're the subject." Virtual form. Lu Chen actually directly skipped the heart demon state and activated the great void form. Chapter 1452. The inner demon needed 5 minutes to enter the higher virtual form. However, in a high-intensity battle, how many times did the enemy give Lu Chen 5 minutes to prepare? The higher virtual form was attached to the inner demon's lotus, but the most fundamental thing was Lu Chen's demonic state. If he could raise this state to a sufficient level in an instant, he might be able to break through the limits of the higher virtual form. The pinnacle of humanity, breaking through the limits. During each cultivation, Lu Chen also tried to break through the limits of the higher virtual form time and time again. In an instant, Lu Chen's normal right arm turned into the emptiness of God's and demons' arm. At this time, Lu Chen was covered in dragon-scaled golden armor. His white hair danced in the wind. In each of his 2 giant arms, he held the infinite sword of gods and demons and the god-destroying void spear. Higher virtual form, polar ice flame explosion sword. Higher virtual form, earth fiend dark spear, dark sky earth fiend. The wind howled and heaven and earth shook. In an instant, the battle here had become the place with the greatest commotion. The vibrations of spiritual energy in the surroundings were completely incomparable to Lu Chen's 2 powerful moves. With a boom, the ground cracked, and the earth fiend aura soared into the sky. At the same time, the temperature within 1,000 meters plummeted. Frost danced in the air, and a scorching flame pierced through the world of ice and shot toward the gods. At this time, Lu Chen's level was not that of a 3-star human emperor. He had reached that level half a year ago, but he hadn't upgraded to a 4-star yet. With his characteristics as a mutated human emperor, his strength was far beyond everyone's expectations. A spear and a sword shook heaven and earth. All the gods could do was defend with all their might. Outside the battlefield, the god of hunting was petrified. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was hard to imagine that a 2-star lower deity could lose his composure like this. If he remembered correctly, his battle with Solipsistic was less than 3 years ago. At that time, the gap between them wasn't that big. However, 3 years was just a blink of an eye for a god. In the blink of an eye, Solipsistic's combat power had reached such a terrifying level. This guy? No, it's impossible. How could he become so strong in such a short time? Is he still human? How could he do something that not even the gods could do? Gu Mei and the other 2 felt like they were in a dream. Wait, isn't Brother Du Kuang's specialty? Divine archery? This pistol, this sword, what's going on? He's not the best at shooting. Bone Demon said faintly. His weapons are the divine demon limitless sword and the void god-slaying spear. He's best at close combat. Of course, he's also capable of long-range attacks. He's proficient in archery, spells, puppets, and beast taming. He's proficient in all 9 professions. Bone Demon was indeed the one who knew Lu Chen the best among the 3 of them. It seemed like he had collected a lot of information about him in the past. Netherworld shook his head and sighed. It's said that a solipsistic battle is the most unpredictable. Sure enough, this guy was hiding his strength when he hunted with us. 100 miles away, the worldly Taoist horsetail whisk fell from his shoulder, but he didn't notice it at all. This fellow, our previous calculations were all wrong. His strength is definitely not inferior to any 5-star lesser deities. Lu Chen attacked with 2 powerful moves, a group attack to control the field and a single target sword technique to attack Iron Arm. As a 3-star deity, Iron Arm's strength was not to be underestimated. At this moment, the runes on his arms flickered, and a golden spiritual shield quickly formed in front of him, blocking Lu Chen's polar ice flame explosion sword and mysterious heaven-earth terminus spear. Damn it, this guy's attacks are actually so fierce. Solipsistic, don't be arrogant. I'll marry your dog head later. At this moment, a small white figure scurried over from the side. Seeing this white figure, Iron Arm suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. Immediately after, a little white mouse stood on his thick and strong arms. Without saying anything, the little furball bit toward Iron Arm's most prided golden-striped arms. Little Beast couldn't help but sigh. Little furball, I told you that we're all soft persimmons. You just had to pick the strongest one and even bite his arms. After thinking for a while, Little Beast finally figured it out. In Little Furball's world, there was only delicious and not delicious. There was no strong or weak. Iron Arm's golden-striped arms must taste different. Little Beast shook its head and decided to get down to business. Dad had temporarily restricted the deity's movements, so this was the best time for them to strike. Divine Beast Psychic. Beast God. Heaven equaling Holy Flame. Little Beast, you still want to launch a sneak attack? One of the deities caught the other's attack and turned around to cast a spell. Your spell is too slow. Go to hell. Divine Art, 12 Heavenly Dipper Spells. Heavenly Ice Spirit Sword. A huge shadow of a broken sword condensed countless icicles and blasted toward Little Beast. Suddenly, a white tiger roared angrily and blocked in front of the Little Beast in an instant. With a loud bang, the broken sword hit Little Originator and pushed it back dozens of meters. Little Originator. Little Beast hurriedly looked at Little Originator and saw that it had jumped up from the ground, seemingly uninjured. Little Beast smiled. Old man, Little Originator is not the same as before. Your ice element can no longer hurt it. You made the first move, but unfortunately, you didn't manage to touch me. Now it's my turn. Little Beast had finished casting the spell. In the sky, a few rays of starlight shot toward the ground and merged with Little Beast's heaven-equaling holy flame. A huge flame dragon roared and pounced on the deity. The surrounding air was ignited by the high temperature and became blurry. Wherever the flame dragon passed, the soil on the ground was directly decomposed, leaving a huge gully. With a bang, the flame dragon crashed into the deity. Lord Fashion's eyes widened. The beast god's flame was so terrifying that it could burn everything? Lord Fazhen roared as he saw the flame dragon approaching. His spiritual energy surged and propped up his battle robe. Dark Ice Frost Shield. Heavenly Water Spirit Shield Talisman. Body of Extreme Cold. The Dark Ice Frost Shield resisted the flame dragon, but the ice on the ice shield was slowly melting. Obviously, it was not as good as Little Beast's fire element. Little Beast sneered. So you're good with ice. Unfortunately, if we only compete with elements, you won't be able to withstand my heaven-equaling holy flame. The two sides were in a stalemate for a moment. The flame dragon directly swallowed the ice shield and crazily crashed into Ice Lord Fazhen. In an instant, Lord Fashion's clothes were directly burned and his body was set on fire. Ice Lord Fazhen wailed. His body was badly burned and his flesh was badly mutilated. If it was a one-on-one fight, Little Beast might not be a match for him. However, he was restrained by Lu Chen and his attack was blocked by Little Originator. This made him furious. "Despicable man, fight me one-on-one if you have the guts." Little Beast snorted. "Old man, is there something wrong with your brain? Why don't you fight my dad one-on-one? Moreover, me, Little Originator, Little Furball, forget it. Let's add rhubarb. We are one." "Little Furball, it's time to eat. Quick." Little Furball gnawed on Iron Arm's arm, causing him great pain. When it suddenly heard the word, "time to eat," it instantly threw Iron Arm away and pounced on Lord Fozhen. God-devouring rat. When Lord Fozhen saw Little Furball, it was as if he had seen a ghost. He hurriedly cast out a shield and several divine talismans. Little Furball moved as fast as lightning. Under the cover of Little Originator, it directly ignored Lord Fashion's ice shield and bit off his finger. Freezing Sword Talisman. However, when he raised his head, he found that Little Furball was no longer within his attack range. However, what made his hair stand on end was that a few squeaking noises came from behind him. Once targeted by the god-devouring rat, even gods would not be able to escape. Chapter 1453. Great Void Form, Void God-Destroying Spear, Endless Dawn. Lu Chen bellowed and unleashed another powerful move. White light flashed. The gods did not expect that their heavenly Tao divine power would not be able to suppress Lu Chen. At this moment, they were stuck in an awkward stalemate with Lu Chen, unable to escape. When the second wave of attacks came, the gods could no longer withstand it. Their spiritual shields shattered, and more than 10 gods spat out blood as they were sent flying. Tai Bai's arms were badly mangled, and he was sent flying out of the sky connecting formation. He crawled up and looked at Lu Chen in horror. A 3-star human emperor comparable to a 5-star lower deity? Why can't the heavenly Tao divine power suppress him? Lu Chen was not obliged to explain so much to him. He and his battle pets quickly cleaned up the enemies who were lucky enough not to be sent flying out of the formation. The spiritual energy in their bodies was chaotic, and they had different degrees of injuries. They were no longer able to fight back against Lu Chen. Most of them looked at the greedy eyes of the furball and did not wait for Lu Chen to attack. A moment later, all 17 gods had been defeated. Why did the heavenly Tao divine power lose its effect? One of the gods still could not understand. Could it be that this is the god-fiend human emperor? Lu Chen snorted coldly at the gods who were sent flying through the defensive shield. He did not say anything and turned back to observe the situation of the gods' battlefield. Obviously, the solipsistic divine power had not exerted his full strength. At the same time, the constellations above the sky connecting formation changed. Many people in the battlefield also noticed the constellations above their heads. "It's the psychic constellation. Come back and defend." Damn it, the first to appear is the psychic constellation. Don't fight them head-on. Defend as an attack. Even among those who were fighting, most of them chose to stop and quickly return to their defensive range. However, some people did not intend to let them return. It's our psychic constellation. We have the upper hand now. Weaken the strength of the other forces first. Don't let them form a defensive line. The spiritual system's gathering place was rather far from Lu Chen, and Lu Chen had thought that he wouldn't be in any danger. But right at this moment, an incomparably sharp spiritual energy shot over from afar, heading straight for the little beast that was 100 meters away. Heavenly might attack. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Guardian of the Earth. Little beast, be careful. Led by Qian Ji, the 4 guardians of the Earth quickly activated their earthen rock shield. Qian Ji opened his eyes wide. He didn't need to control his body. Of course, he couldn't control it even if he wanted to. Therefore, he had the time to observe the battle. On the battlefield, the heavens shook and the earth shook. All kinds of terrifying skills collided with each other, and the world turned dark. This is the battle of the gods. I actually came to the battle of the gods. Even if Qian Ji succeeded in his tribulation and became an immortal venerable in the future, he wasn't confident that he could enter the 8th heavenly layer. Who would have thought that he would become a puppet and enter the deity domain so inexplicably? Right at this moment, with a loud boom, a powerful force crashed onto the combined earth and rock shield. The earth puppet quickly moved the other party to the ground. In an instant, the ground within 1,000 meters cracked and collapsed. So powerful! I can't block it! Qianji shouted. Damned Lu Chen, come and help us! Before he could finish his sentence, Lu Chen's heaven-splitting sword had already arrived. However, Lu Chen's sword was blocked. Divine technique, gates of hell. With a loud bang, a burst of violent spiritual energy surged outwards, causing a sandstorm to erupt. In the middle of the field, the swords of the two men were clashing together. Lu Chen looked coldly at the person in front of him. This person was from the evil spirit race. Lightning danced on the azure sword in his hand as he blocked the infinite celestial demon sword. That person also stared at Lu Chen and smiled. Solipsistic, do you think I will let you reap the benefits here? Anyway, it's still too early to kill the other 5-star deities. Why don't I take care of you first? From the other party's strength and words, Lu Chen had already guessed that he was the strongest 5-star deity in the spirit system. Although the stars were in their favor now, there were many people in the 8 major systems. It was still unrealistic to directly kill the strongest 5-star lower deity. Why not take this opportunity to kill Lu Chen first? I heard that you are very powerful. Lingbo, want to see if a mere human emperor like you can block my sword under the protection of the stars. Lingbo's arms suddenly exploded with spiritual energy as he pushed Lu Chen away and pulled away. Divine technique, White Sky Luo Divine Sword, Water Body Lightning Bone. The water vapor in the surroundings instantly thickened. A few seconds later, a bolt of lightning struck from the sky. However, that bolt of lightning didn't disappear immediately. Instead, it kept flashing in front of Lingbo. The surrounding water vapor quickly gathered and formed a huge dragon with lightning as its bones and water as its lightning. The huge dragon let out a dragon roar, and a huge net of lightning intertwined with each other instantly formed around it, trapping Lu Chen within it. Then, it pounced on Lu Chen. Lightning intertwined within the dragon's body, attracting lightning to its body upon contact. Moreover, its huge body didn't affect its super-fast speed. In the blink of an eye, that huge dragon was already in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen widened his eyes and hurriedly moved. God's descent. However, this time, Lu Chen only moved about 100 meters. He didn't escape the lightning net at all. Solipsistic, everything has spirit chi. All cultivation techniques are also based on spirit chi. Your God's descent won't be able to break through this limit. The lightning net spirit chi is strong and blocks the flow of spirit chi from the outside. You won't be able to use this to escape. This lightning net and the lightning dragon are connected by electric charges. The power of heavenly lightning will kill anyone who touches it. When the lightning net retracts, it will be the time of your death. Although Lu Chen didn't escape the lightning net just now, he avoided the lightning dragon's attack. At this moment, the lightning dragon pounced on him again. The lightning net around him shrank rapidly, and Lu Chen's space to move was getting smaller and smaller. Lu Chen didn't dare to take the lightning dragon head-on. He dodged again and bought some time for the time being. Solipsistic, your strength is only around that of a 5-star lower deity. Meanwhile, I rarely meet a match among lower deities. Today, with the help of heavenly phenomenon, do you think you still have a chance? Under the lightning net, I won't even let you escape from the Skirich formation. Just accept your death obediently. After saying that, Ling Bo formed a seal with his sword fingers, and the lightning net shrank at twice the speed. Not good, Dad is in danger. Little Beast's eyes widened. That guy is borrowing the power of heavenly lightning from the stars. Its power is extremely terrifying. Even Dad's body can't block it. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. First, he used the sacred lotus sword heart to slightly block the lightning dragon. Then, he circulated his spirit chi and opened his palms slightly in front of him. Lightning net? Let's see if your lightning net can trap this. Creation space. A huge space suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chen. It was almost half the size of the lightning net. The lightning dragon was only formed by sword intent and had no consciousness. It plunged into the creation space. Chapter 1454. The Thunder Dragon plunged into the creation space. As the Thunder Dragon was formed by spiritual energy, it instantly stirred up the spiritual energy in the creation space. The number of sword shadows in the space increased rapidly, forming a sword dragon in the blink of an eye and fighting with the Thunder Dragon. At the same time, after absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy, the space expanded rapidly and supported the Thunder Net. At this moment, Lu Chen called back Little Beast and the others and hid in the space. With the characteristics of the creation space, the Thunder Dragon was not a threat. The more it attacked, the more sword shadows it produced. The key was the battle between the creation space and the Thunder Net. Could the creation space support the Thunder Net? The worldly Taoist squinted his eyes slightly. Infinity gives birth to Tai Chi. Tai Chi gives birth to Yin and Yang. There are thousands of kinds of artistic conception, but Lu Chen's artistic conception coincides with the heavenly Tao of Yin and Yang. Tai Xing also frowned. The creation space already has the embryonic form of creating a world. If it is perfected, I'm afraid it will be comparable to the supreme gods in the future. You're exaggerating, Xianzhen said. Xianzhen said, the creation space is currently only absorbing spiritual energy and nurturing it. It's still far from creating a world. Moreover, the creation of the world can only be considered a strange move. Lu Chen's strength has determined that the creation space is not indestructible, and the expansion speed is slow. I think that Ling Bo should be able to break it with the help of the star power. In the field, Ling Bo's eyes widened. Lu Chen did not use the creation space much, mainly because it was not suitable for actual combat. Not to mention gods, even immortals could easily dodge it. However, at this moment, facing the Thunder Net and the Thunder Dragon, it was really effective. I didn't expect you to be so good. Ling Bo squinted his eyes slightly. Unfortunately, your space may be invincible in the lower realm, but don't underestimate me, the Heavenly King of Star Thunder. Using the Thunder Dragon's spiritual energy to expand your creation space? Dream on. Ling Bo's eyes widened and he shouted, Thunder Dragon, release. The Thunder Dragon, which was fighting with the Sword Dragon, instantly disintegrated at Ling Bo's command. The Thunder Dragon was made of thunder as its bones and water vapor as its flesh. Now that the water vapor had dispersed, the thunder and lightning disappeared. Thunder Star Net, retract. Break this creation space for me. Ling Bo's right hand formed a claw, using all his strength to compress the lightning net inwards. At this moment, Lu Chen felt a terrifying force squeezing the edge of the creation space. Lu Chen's eyes were wide open as he sat cross-legged. He channeled all his spiritual energy to support the four walls of the creation space and tried his best to expand outwards. The creation space expanded, and the heavenly thunder net contracted. Ling Bo and Lu Chen both used their full strength, and they were in a stalemate. The bone demon did not even dare to blink. If the heavenly thunder net broke through the creation space, Lu Chen would be captured by the heavenly net and would not be able to escape. Yu Ming said anxiously, the heavenly thunder net originates from the power of the stars and is endless. However, no matter how strong Brother Du Kuang's spiritual energy is, there is still a limit to it. Moreover, Ling Bo is a 5-star lower-level deity, and with the help of the celestial body, his power has increased greatly. This battle is probably hopeless. The pressure that Lu Chen felt at this moment was as if there was a mountain on his back. It was unbearable and there was no end to it. Veins bulged on Lu Chen's forehead. He gritted his teeth and summoned his battle pets. I can't hold on much longer. Help the creation space grow. Lu Chen only said one sentence. He did not have the time to explain more. Fortunately, he did not summon anyone else. The four beasts had followed Lu Chen for many years and immediately understood what Lu Chen meant. The four beasts could not directly replenish the creation space with spiritual energy and help it grow like Lu Chen, but they could let the creation space absorb the spiritual energy by using it like Yi Fan and the others did. Hurry up, Furball, Originator, Big Rhubarb, stay with Dad. Little Beast, together with Furball and Originator, began to attack the sword shadows crazily. With the help of Little Beast and the others, Lu Chen was finally able to catch his breath. The heavenly thunder net was too powerful. His only chance to break it was to do it in one go. With that in mind, Lu Chen bellowed. Celestial Body. Inner Demon. After using the last two enhancement skills, Lu Chen instantly unleashed all his spiritual energy. Break for lousy. Lu Chen angrily shouted. A tremendous amount of spiritual energy was injected into the creation space, which expanded abruptly. Ling Bo suddenly felt an extremely strong resistance. This guy hasn't tried his best yet. Ling Bo said angrily. You want to break the heavenly thunder net? In your dreams. Ling Bo roared and unleashed all his spiritual energy. Right then, the heavenly thunder net had already sunk into the wall of the creation space. In the end, the heavenly thunder net won and tore apart the wall of the creation space first. However, the moment the creation space was destroyed, it unleashed an astonishing amount of spiritual energy and completely tore apart the heavenly thunder net. Boom boom boom. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, dense explosions occurred in the arc-shaped area. Terrifying spiritual energy shockwaves exploded wildly in the Ragnarok battlefield. It broke. Ling Bo looked at the explosions around him in disbelief, his eyes full of shock. Impossible! This was a skill that he activated using the power of the stars. It could only be activated with the help of the corresponding constellation, and its power was enough to kill a 6-star lower deity. However, it was actually broken by the solipsistic. The god of the hunt's mind was blank. What was the limit of the solipsistic's power? Even a 5-star lower deity couldn't kill him with the help of the power of the stars. Ling Bo and Lu Chen were further away from the outer wall of the creation space and weren't affected by the shockwaves. However, both of them spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and were seriously injured. However, all of a sudden, Ling Bo only saw a blur in front of him, and a figure was already in front of him. Ling Bo, go to hell. Lu Chen's eyes were bloodshot. Void form, sky-piercing sword. Both of them were seriously injured, but Ling Bo had yet to recover, while Lu Chen was already in front of Ling Bo. There was no need to say more about the strength of both of them. Ling Bo's eyelids twitched, and he shouted in a low voice, Guardian Spirit. 1,000 spirits as one. This guy already knew that he couldn't withstand Lu Chen's sky-piercing sword, so he used his body movement to escape. Trying to run? God's advent. Lu Chen naturally wouldn't give him the chance. Oh no, the thunder and water spiritual god is in danger. Activate the shield. Forbidden land of 10,000 spirits. 7 or 8 deities attacked at the same time and activated the joint defense array. Lu Chen's advent didn't penetrate the defense array, and he could only watch as Ling Bo escaped back to the camp. Damn it! Lu Chen didn't dare to stay here for long. He quickly left and returned to the side of the 4 beasts. Dad, that Ling Bo is too despicable. He's a 5-star lower deity, but he still has to rely on others to save his dog life. Little Beast was furious. Rhubarb, Lu Chen was panting heavily. He had already exhausted all his strength to chase after Ling Bo, and now he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Little Beast, I can't care so much. The celestial bodies are changing, and the spiritual element doesn't dare to act rashly. I have to hurry up and recover. If I'm not wrong, in the next celestial body, there will be someone who wants to kill me. Little Beast and the others' faces turned gloomy. Dad's current situation was definitely a matter of life and death. Chapter 1455. The 9-star heaven passage array had too many variables. Now that the star palace had shifted, the corresponding stars of the spiritual system were moving out of the array. As for what the next star cluster would be, no one knew. Lu Chen used this short period of time to quickly recover his spiritual energy. I used too much energy in the previous battle. I was too careless. A 5-star lower god still has some tricks up his sleeve. Lu Chen summarized his mistake. The second star cluster, coincidentally, was the absolute beginning star cluster. It corresponded to the life god that was closest to Lu Chen. Dad, it's the absolute beginning star cluster. The little critter frowned with a serious expression. As soon as the absolute beginning star cluster entered the range of the heaven passage array, the life gods were already restless. As soon as the star cluster was formed, they quickly attacked their surroundings. The thunder and water spiritual god Lingbo was already seriously injured. However, in the battle of the gods, they only looked at the final victory, not the number of people defeated. The life gods were not in a hurry to fight the spirit gods. They only thought of ways to defeat them one by one and continue to weaken the spirit gods. At the same time, they looked for opportunities to weaken the other systems. The weaker the other systems were, the higher their chances of reaching the end. Smoke rose on the battlefield again. The life gods swept through the battlefield. The other systems tried to preserve their strength as much as possible, waiting for their own star clusters. In such a short period of time, it was impossible for Lu Chen to completely recover. However, he had to be ready to fight at any time. He first called back the 4 beasts and the earth puppet and looked around vigilantly. Suddenly, a vine rose from Lu Chen's feet. Fortunately, Lu Chen was already prepared. His eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He dodged it with a god's arrival. Lu Chen had just stabilized himself when a person walked out of the void in front of him. This man was an elf god. He was even more similar to the one Lu Chen saw in the altar in the crack world. The other party smiled and his gaze fell on Lu Chen's badge. 3-star wild god human emperor. Muted it. Your original name is Lu Chen, right? You really have a lot of gimmicks. Lu Chen looked at this person coldly. The pressure emitted from him did not lose to Lingbo. Lu Chen took a deep breath. His deduction was right. What? Lu Chen said coldly. You gods think so highly of me. Only 5-star lower gods dare to kill me. Faced with Lu Chen's mockery, the corner of that person's mouth only curled up slightly. We all saw the battle between you and Lingbo just now. Do you think that I would let a 3-star or 4-star expert come over for you to kill instead? The battle of the gods is not something that can be decided overnight. What I hate the most is variables, and you are the biggest variable. It's a good thing that you don't belong to any system. You dared to come to the battle of the Titans alone. I really don't know if I should say that you're brave or stupid. Now that you're heavily injured, if I don't kill you now, when will I? Lu Chen pulled out his limitless sword and god-slaying spear and looked at the elf deity calmly. You want to kill me? You have no chance. The elf still had a smile on his face, and he was full of confidence. What a joke. Is Lingbo worthy to be mentioned in the same breath as my demonic wood god, Mo Teng? Lu Chen, the one who has no chance is you. Endless growth. Revival of all things. Summon, Supreme Tree Demon. The ground rumbled as the ground collapsed. Something was stirring under the ground. Seeing that the other party was about to launch an attack, Lu Chen directly activated God's Advent and flashed 1,000 meters away. However, just as he appeared, a withered vine shot up to the sky from under his feet. Still want to run? This is the battle of the Titans. To the gods, it's just a matter of time. The demonic vine was in front of Lu Chen in an instant. Now do you understand? The battle of the Titans is not something you can come to. Demonic vine ghost claw. Countless withered vines shot out from the ground under Lu Chen's feet, emitting a rotten smell. As if they had eyes, they clawed at Lu Chen. Holy Lotus Sword Heart. Lu Chen swung his sword aura, but many illusory ghost claws suddenly appeared on the demonic vine, forming a black spiritual shield to protect the demonic vine's advance. Lu Chen, you're not the only one who has a battle pet that can ignore spiritual attacks. The demonic vine smiled slightly, then stopped smiling. Murderous intent flashed in its eyes. Die for me. Power of stars, tree demon regeneration. The withered vines, which were already overwhelming to begin with, regenerated a large number of branches and connected with each other, forming a huge arm. Around the arm, Countless black fog ghost claws surrounded it. The huge demonic arm had reached Su Ping in an instant. Lu Chen's sword of fire and endless daybreak landed on the demonic arm, but it remained unharmed. At this moment, directly attacking the demonic arm was no longer a good idea. Lu Chen activated God's Advent and flashed to the front of the demonic vine. Virtual form, Shadow Spear. All of a sudden, the demonic vine's arm demonized like a miniature demonic arm. It ignored Lu Chen's attack and punched. "How dare you get close to me? You're courting death." With a boom, Lu Chen was knocked away. Although the 7-spear acceleration Shadow Spear was powerful, Lu Chen was injured and its power was greatly reduced. The demonic vine's demonized arms seemed to be connected to the huge demonic arm. The moment Lu Chen attacked, the huge demonic arm transferred to the demonic vine's arm. The demonic vine took Lu Chen's attack head-on and knocked Lu Chen back. Lu Chen's body was sent flying like a cannonball and landed heavily on the ground. With a boom, a huge pit appeared on the ground, and dust flew. After a while, the dust dispersed. In the center of the pit, Lu Chen was covered in blood. He did not fall, but when he stood, he was swaying. 3 consecutive fierce battles. First, he defeated 17 deities, then he was attacked by Ling Bo and the demonic vine. Both of them were the best among the 5-star lower deities. With the help of the stars, their strength increased greatly, and they were comparable to a 6-star lower deity. At this moment, Lu Chen's injuries were on top of his, and his body did not seem to be his own. In the distance, Bone Demon's eyes were red. That man who refused to fall, under such circumstances, could not possibly have any hope of turning the tables. "Brother Kuang, quick, retreat from the battlefield. There's still a chance." He was unwilling to submit to fate, and he was unwilling to submit to the gods. However, in the end, he was the most isolated and helpless person on the battlefield. A heaven-defying person was not tolerated by heaven and earth, nor by the gods. "Brother Du Kuang, quickly leave. If you don't leave, you'll die." Netherworld gritted his teeth anxiously. He could not wait to rush in and drag Lu Chen out. "Is the soul of the divine demon really that important to you? More important than your life?" 100 miles away, Tai Xing sighed and shook his head. "He's not the person we're waiting for. Not to mention winning the battle of the gods, he can't even fight the demonic vine." Indeed, the 9 stars heaven array strengthened the 8 major systems. Now, all of the 8 major systems see him as a thorn in their side. Even if the demonic vine stops attacking now, there are still 6 of them. How can he win? Xianjun said. However, the dust Taoist, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. "The two of you, a heaven-defying person does the impossible and breaks the impossible. If we can see the result, then he doesn't seem like the person we're waiting for." Chapter 1456. The demonic vine looked at Lu Chen indifferently. He raised his hand, and a large number of demonic vines rose around the crater. The demonic vine glanced at the sky. Tai Chu's image was in the middle of the sky connecting array. The god of life had achieved great results and laid a good foundation for winning the championship. "It's a pity that I don't have time to play with you. Lu Chen, your legend has come to an end with me. I forgot to tell you that I won't make the same mistake as others. I won't give you any chance to escape. Also, I won't leave anyone alive. Without death, there's no rebirth. Tree Demon, attack with the power of heaven. Don't let the essence of heaven and earth take advantage of this. Crack the ground so that the Earth Guardian can't defend." The demonic vine willed, and the surrounding demonic vines gathered into a huge demonic arm that grabbed at Lu Chen. Lu Chen watched the demonic vine pounce at him, but his body was so heavy that he couldn't summon any strength. It was already difficult for him to even stand. The spiritual energy in his body was chaotic, and he couldn't activate God's descent. The demonic vine had even thought of the suboriginator and the Earth Guardian. The little beast and the others definitely couldn't withstand the demonic vine's attack. In the face of the devil's arm, Lu Chen could hear himself gasping for breath. He was a little tired. The human race was safe. Earth wouldn't be devoured by the Jiutian for the time being. Lu Yi, Beishue, Gufei, Xiaoyi, and Yao were all safe. However, Mu Sheng's life was still unknown. His father was still imprisoned in the sky-connecting prison and suffering endless torture. There was still no news about his mother. Dad, I'm sorry. Yao, I might not be able to fulfill my promise. The god-devil state disappeared. The white hair turned black, and the great ethereal arm turned back into a human. The god-devil and human emperor seemed to be gone. The one standing here was Lu Qin, an ordinary earthling. Ah, Lu Qin, solipsistic, have you finally given up? Not only did I kill you, the god-devil and human emperor, but I also broke your will? Haha, interesting. The demonic vine couldn't stop laughing. So, your death will make my name go down in history. Kill a human sovereign, kill a genius, kill a monster like you, ha! Bone Demon said faintly, Big Brother Kwang, as long as you leave your corpse intact, I can give you a new life. However, in the hands of the devil vine, could Lu Qin leave behind a complete corpse? Regardless of whether she could or not, Bone Demon had already closed her eyes. She did not want to see the moment Lu Qin died tragically. With a boom, the huge demonic arm slammed into Lu Qin's body. This punch shook the heavens and earth. A vertical air ring exploded in the middle of the field. Half of it split open the ground, while the other half split open the sky. How could Lu Qin, in his current state, take the full force attack of the demonic vine? Time seemed to stop at this moment. A moment later, Netherworld stared at the battlefield and narrowed his eyes. No, something is blocking the demon arm. The Bone Demon turned around immediately and searched for Lu Qin's shadow in the field in fear. At this moment, a red fire spirit shield blocked the side of Lu Qin. The giant demon arm was actually unable to advance an inch in the shield. What's going on? Big Brother Kwang still has a trump card? I don't know. I've never heard of Big Brother Kwang having a fire spirit shield. Look, that demon arm is actually being burned. Lu Qin waited for a moment, but the fist that he imagined to free himself did not come. He opened his eyes and looked to his side in confusion. A fire shield that was 100 meters high in temperature was standing right next to him. Lu Qin himself was also dumbfounded. This was definitely not his skill. Suddenly, a piece of dead wood floated beside Lu Qin. In his mind, a woman's voice sounded. Lu Qin, do you still remember me? Lu Qin's eyes widened. Of course he remembered, but he found it hard to believe. Senior Qiu Ming. Back then, Lu Qin had asked Qiu Ming if she was willing to recognize him as her master. Unfortunately, Qiu Ming had already given up and rejected Lu Qin. Qiu Ming's voice sounded again. I once thought that you had always brought me along, but in the end, you only wanted me to recognize you as my master. However, I seem to have misunderstood. Ever since you asked me that last time, you never mentioned recognizing me as your master again. Even now, when you are in a desperate situation and about to die, you are still like this. Thank you for giving me such great tolerance, and thank you for never separating me from heaven pilfering. Lu Qin, from the 6th heaven to the 8th heaven, I watched you grow up step by step. I watched you withstand 4 12th level heavenly tribulations in Skysplit Tower. I watched you fight for your planet, for your people, for your family, and for the entire human race. I also watched you become lost in the myriad of worlds and experience the tribulations of countless eras. I thought that after several thousand years, I had already seen through the hearts of people. Only when I saw everything that you experienced did I realize that I had not seen through anything. Lu Qin, there is something that I have always wanted to say to you. Lu Qin's brows were tightly knitted. He did not interrupt Qiu Ming and only listened to her finish speaking. For the human race, for your home planet, and for your family, you disregarded life and death. You cut through all obstacles and went against the heavens. However, have you ever fought for yourself? You are only a mortal. If you had given up just now, what awaited you would only be death. Before you died, you were only thinking about the people you cared about. However, you only forgot one person. You forgot yourself. You forgot that there are many people who do not wish for you to die. Lu Chen was suddenly stunned. The only person he forgot was himself. The gods are detached from the world, but you are in the world. Since that is the case, there are also many people who care about you. Do you think that everything is over after you save them? Lu Yi does not only care about her child, she also cares about you, her big brother. Yao does not only want his mother, he also misses you, his father. Your path is not over yet. God Fiend, Human Emperor, fighting for yourself is fighting for the common people. Lu Chen, thank you for reigniting my fighting spirit. Qiu Wan is ashamed. Mr. Please ask me the question from before again. With a boom, Lu Chen's mind suddenly felt as if it had been struck by lightning. His path was not over yet. Lu Chen took a deep breath and asked, Senior Qiu Ming, are you willing to recognize me, Lu Chen, as your master? Unlike last time, Qiu Ming's voice was incomparably firm. Following in life and death, I will never regret. Qiu Ming is willing to recognize you as my master. Beside him, the withered wood staff exploded with a shocking rainbow light. Heaven Pilfer had said that the Chaos Magic Staff's level was even higher than his. Lu Chen gripped the Chaos Magic Staff tightly with one hand. In an instant, a violent wave of spiritual energy poured into Lu Chen's body like a river bursting through a dam. With a boom, the Devil Vine's gigantic arm was directly engulfed by a ball of heavenly fire. Within the flames, a series of ghostly howls that caused one's heart to tremble violently. A moment later, the Devil Vine's arm had already turned into ashes. And at this moment, Lu Chen's elemental attributes had already soared by several times. The deep pit with a radius of several hundred meters beside him ignited with raging flames, and the flames soared into the sky. What's going on? The Devil Vine's eyes widened as he looked at this scene in disbelief. He was clearly a person who was about to die, so how could he suddenly control such a ferocious fire? A wave of spiritual energy spread out from within the flames. White hair fluttered in the flames. The emptiness of gods and demons' arm was like the arm of a demon god, majestic and powerful. A figure slowly walked out from within the flames. Devil Vine, you're already dead. A cold voice came from within the flames. Chapter 1457. Seeing the half of the deadwood staff floating beside Lu Chen, Mo Teng searched his mind for a moment and suddenly widened his eyes. This is the primal chaos magic staff. No, impossible. How could this thing appear in your hands? Lu Chen sneered, why ask so many questions when you are about to die? Mo Teng's eyelids shrank. You think a broken staff can turn the tables? Mo Teng's arm demonized once again and roared, Deviltree, Ghost Lairs extreme fiendish. His arms swelled 100 times as countless vines entwined around each other, layer by layer. The black fog directly merged with the dead wood, and the grayish-black arm demonized and turned pure black. Die for this lord. The extreme fiendish demon arm broke through space and grabbed at Lu Chen. Heaven burning earth fire. Lu Chen's surrounding 100 meters was suddenly filled with pillars of fire. Just as the extreme fiendish demon arm entered the flame area, the demonic aura that had just merged with it was forced out of the vines and turned into a black fog that surrounded the demon arm. Without the protection of the demonic aura, the vines found it even harder to resist Lu Chen's flames. Before they could hit Lu Chen, they had already turned into ashes. For a moment, countless sparks appeared around Lu Chen, as if there were countless stars. The clash of two moves within the flames had a different kind of beauty. The Ghost Lair's extreme fiendish demon arm actually couldn't resist his flames. Mo Teng's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. When Netherworld saw this scene, he was also shocked. It is said that Mo Teng is not afraid of flames. Brother Du Kuang's flames actually burned the Ghost Lair's extreme fiendish demon arm. His flame affinity is probably over 80,000. Could it be because of that broken staff? On the battlefield, Lu Chen sneered, thank you for filling in the firewood for me. Mo Teng's face turned ugly. His Deviltree Supreme had become the firewood that Solipsistic was talking about? Suddenly, Lu Chen's figure flashed and a god's descent appeared in front of Mo Teng. Try blocking my spear again. Void form, flame shadow spear. Mo Teng was just about to escape when he suddenly discovered that the surrounding spiritual energy had been sucked dry. He was like a fish without water, he was unable to move. Supreme Treeman, protect your master. The ground in front of the demonic vine suddenly splashed with dirt and rocks, and a huge tree instantly blocked the demonic vine. Lu Chen's spear flashed with a dazzling flame. Lu Chen not only pierced through the 100-meter-tall tree, but even the demonic vines were not spared. Behind him, Lu Chen retracted his move gracefully. The devil vine looked at the huge hole in his chest in horror. Lava flowed inside and swallowed his organs. His divine core had already disappeared. The devil vine painfully turned its head and said with difficulty, "Solipsistic? Spare my life. I beg you." Lu Chen didn't even turn his head. His tone was ice cold. "Just now, would you have spared my life? More and more people want to kill me, but you seem to have forgotten that since it's a battle of life and death, if the one who dies isn't me, then it will definitely be you. Don't you want your name to go down in history? Since I've ascended to the 8th heaven, you are the first god I've killed. It can be considered that my wish has been fulfilled." The demonic vine's expression was wooden. It was obvious that Lu Chen wouldn't be merciful. "Without death, how can there be rebirth? Haha, I didn't expect that this sentence would be said for myself." The demonic vine's expression was desolate. His body was quickly being eaten away by the flames, but he didn't care about this anymore. Amidst his desperate and crazy laughter, the demonic vine's body turned into ashes together with Supreme Treeman and was swept up into the sky by the heat wave. Lu Chen turned around and looked at the sky full of sparks. There was no joy on his face. "Even gods can die? Then what right do you have to be called gods?" Lu Chen said faintly. "In the end, you can't escape the cycle of reincarnation." The entire battlefield of the gods, the sounds of the fierce battle had almost disappeared. Almost everyone's mind flashed with two words: killing a god. The god-fiend human emperor killed a god with one spear. And he was one of the best among the 5-star lesser gods. He killed the demonic vine under the protection of the stars. They saw with their own eyes that this person who defied the heavenly Tao killed a god. Ling Bo suddenly felt a chill on his back. He didn't know when it started, but his back was already covered in cold sweat. Previously, he was already at a disadvantage in the battle with Lu Chen. If he hadn't run fast enough, the first one to be killed would have been him. However, the current Lu Chen was even stronger than before. Even if the power of the stars hadn't disappeared, he could still kill him. If the lightning net defeated the creation space, the one who forced Lu Chen into a desperate situation would be him. And the one who died would also be him. What kind of monster is this guy? When they looked at Lu Chen again, Lu Chen had already turned around and looked coldly at the thousands of gods. This gaze caused countless gods to feel a long-lost feeling, fear. At this moment, the star array above the sky-reaching array shifted. The stars shifted, and the absolute beginning star array moved far away. A new star array had already entered the sky above the sky-reaching tower. Seeing this star array, everyone's heart tightened. Polar star. The 9-star sky-reaching array was both a defensive array and an amplification array. There were a total of 9 star arrays. However, for thousands of years, the 9 star arrays only corresponded to the 8 major god systems. Since there were 9 star arrays, why did they only protect the 8 major god systems? Was the polar star array really useless, or was it waiting for its destiny? If it was the latter, then no one was more qualified than the solipsistic. It's actually the polar star array? That guy can't be. It can't be him. How could the star arrays of the divine realm leave a place for a mortal? It can't be him. However, although some people didn't want to believe it, no one dared to move. Everyone was watching Lu Chen. They activated all kinds of heavenly eye magic treasures and observed every change on Lu Chen's body. Lu Chen also noticed the change in his appearance. He looked up at the sky. Polar star was different from other star arrays. Other star arrays had many stars forming a group, but polar star was alone. A bright star, in a distant place in the universe, flickered alone. Although there was only one star, its light couldn't be ignored. There was only one star, but it was equally famous as the other star arrays. It was one of the 9 star arrays. A weak starlight fell on Lu Chen's body. In an instant, Lu Chen's body glowed with silver light. He seemed to be able to feel the loneliness of that star, as well as the stubbornness and persistence of that star. Lu Chen seemed to be able to feel its thoughts. After 10,000 years, the person it was waiting for finally appeared. Lu Chen's spirit core rotated slowly. Under the guidance of the starlight, the spirit liquid spread to every pore of his body. Even the acupoints and meridians that weren't smooth before were now smooth. This was an indescribable carefree feeling. It wasn't a breakthrough, but it was better than a breakthrough. Lu Chen looked at his right hand. When he clenched his hand, the feeling of being filled with power was unprecedented. Polar Star was protecting the human emperor? Looking up, Lu Chen looked at the gods and said coldly, "It seems it's my turn." Chapter 1458. As soon as he said that, the range of the 8 systems changed subtly. Originally, the major systems were separated by a relatively large distance from each other. Quietly, the 8 major systems were showing signs of merging together. Previously, we were fighting with each other. Now, there are only about 1,800 of us left. Let's not fight among ourselves for now. Solipsistic is too strong, and he has the Pole Star Guardian. We need to work together to resist him. The Pole Star has never protected any gods for thousands of years. It has accumulated star power for thousands of years. How terrifying is that? The 8 systems might not be able to resist it. He's good at the fire element and can be countered by the water element. As long as we can hold him off for a while and wait for the Pole Star to shift, we can work together to kill him. Withered Claw stared. What did those people say? Only 1,800 people left? Yu Ming took a deep breath. 1,800 people against one person and they're still not confident? If I didn't see it with my own eyes, who would believe it? Bone Demon looked at Lu Chen with bright eyes. She had heard many legends about Lu Chen. Just those rumors alone were enough to make her admire this person. However, no matter how strange the rumors were, it was not as good as seeing it with her own eyes. Looking at the white-haired man who was emitting faint starlight, it was so dazzling that people could not take their eyes off him. Bone Demon stared without blinking and muttered, "So there really is someone who can shine." However, Withered Claw and the others did not dare to slack off. This was the best opportunity for Lu Chen to win. However, once the Pole Star shifted, although Lu Chen was strong, if the gods worked together to deal with him, it would be hard to say what the result would be. Brother Du Kuang, don't be rash. In another corner, the god of the hunt was more nervous than anyone else. After witnessing Lu Chen kill a god, he was now very sure that if Lu Chen really wanted to kill him, he would not hesitate to crush his miniature god core. How did this sure-death situation become like this? Kill him, quickly kill him. Please, quickly kill that demon. At this moment, Lu Chen slowly put away the god-slaying spear and magic staff. In his hand, there was only the infinite divine demon sword. Holding the limitless godly demon sword tightly, Lu Chen suddenly remembered that the limitless weapon spirit seemed to be a vinegar jar. That guy should be more balanced now. Lu Chen took a deep breath. Within the entire battlefield, the wind stirred and the clouds moved. Hidden forces intertwined. Wuji, I haven't used this move before. But now that I have the help of the Divine Staff and Polar Star, let's try it out. You have to hold on. Wuji's voice rang out. Master, feel free to try. I'm afraid there's no move in this world that I can't handle. Lu Chen smiled. All right. Jiutian Star. Switch to Ice and Fire. True Fire Mystic Ice Sword, Ice Fire Hell. The True Fire Mystic Ice Sword was a technique that Lu Chen had obtained by chance in the real world. Its level was unknown, but the elemental requirements were extremely harsh. Lu Chen had only cultivated to the first layer of the Mystic Ice Flame Sword. And the Ice Fire Hell was the third layer of the True Fire Mystic Ice Sword's ultimate move. Although the True Fire Mystic Ice Sword was not only difficult to cultivate, but also had an increase in damage and other special effects that could not reach the level of a divine technique. However, the strength of the move was not only related to the level of the move, but also the user's own strength. Just like Lu Chen's current Ju-Kei, even a venerable immortal would not be able to withstand it. When the dual polarity heaven-splitting technique was completed, the ground within a kilometer of Lu Chen's feet collapsed. The earth could no longer withstand the pressure of this sword. Under the huge spiritual pressure, the surrounding rocks and soil slowly rose, shattered, and annihilated. In the entire heaven-connecting array, half of the ground was abnormally hot. The water on the ground evaporated and turned into steam, while the other half was extremely cold. The ice was bone-chilling, and ice condensed into frost, dancing in the wind. It's a dual elemental attack. Wait, how did he master these two opposing elements at the same time? Is this guy crazy? Does he want to destroy this world? Ice Fire Hell is no small matter. Defend with all your might. At this moment, Lu Chen had already drawn his sword. The infinite celestial demon sword was drawn, and the sky changed color. Yin and Yang rotated, and ice and fire alternated. For a moment, a sword aura directly separated the earth, cut across the sky, and sped toward the deities. Block it? Someone shouted. As long as we can withstand the polar star shift, we will have a chance. However, the moment this sword aura that filled the sky and earth slashed toward them, a terrifying spiritual force pressed down at the same time. Some of the low-star deities who had just come into contact with this technique could not withstand the sword aura at all with their spiritual shields. The moment they came into contact with the sword aura, they were directly sent flying. That's too terrifying. Is this still within the range of a 5-star deity? The sword aura alternates the power of ice and fire. It cannot be restrained by elements. Anyone who comes into contact with it will be seriously injured. The sword aura was like a hot knife through butter. It left a shocking abyss on the ground and directly blasted into the crowd of deities. With a loud bang, the ice fire hell exploded in the crowd. Monstrous heat waves and waves of ice spread outward. The heat waves were scorching, and the waves of ice were bone-chilling. In addition to the huge force produced by the terrifying spiritual explosion, countless deities were blown away in an instant. All of them were seriously injured. As for those who could still move, they rushed out of the range of the heaven-connecting array as if they were fleeing. When the aftershock of this shocking sword aura dissipated, 1,800 deities were lying on the ground, unable to get up. Over 200 deities had escaped from the heaven-connecting tower. Their expressions were dispirited, and some of them were seriously injured. Looking at the battlefield again, a terrifyingly straight ravine had appeared on the ground. It ran through the interior of the heaven-connecting array and was 30 to 40 meters wide. It was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. At the end of the ravine, there was only that white-haired man. Oh my God, what kind of strength is this? Netherworld's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. He forced 2,000 deities to retreat with a single sword. Is there such an unimaginable thing in the world? He even told Brother Du Kuang not to be impulsive. Withered Claw was in a daze. This strength is too exaggerated. Netherworld said. Under the protection of the constellation, the leaders of the various systems can fight up to the power of a 6-star deity. However, they cannot kill all the other deities with a single move. Brother Du Kuang's sword aura is at least that of an 8-star lower deity. Bone Demon took a deep breath and stared at Lu Chen's back without blinking. His chest heaved up and down. He is really strong. It seems that we won't be able to use the undead elixir. Lu Chen looked around at the messy battlefield of the gods. At this moment, there were still a few small fries who had luckily escaped. When they saw Lu Chen looking at them, they cooperated and left the heaven-connecting array. Provoking the solipsistic at this moment was akin to courting death. After a short while, there was only one person left in the battlefield of the gods. The only person who was not a deity had become the strongest person in the final battle of the gods. 800 kilometers away, the worldly Taoist smiled and looked at Xian Zhen and Tai Xing. What did I tell you? I told you not to make wild guesses. See? Xian Zhen smiled and shook his head. Who doesn't know how to say such ambiguous words? It's just a trick. Moreover, even if he wins the battle of the gods, if he is unable to solve the problem regarding the souls of deities and demons, he is not the person we are waiting for. Tai Xing said calmly, let's stop arguing. Let's go and give the prize to the winner. It just so happens that I also want to see this human emperor who refuses to accept the will of heaven. Chapter 1459. Lu Chen was standing quietly on the battlefield. The power of the sword just now was beyond his imagination. When he made the move, he clearly felt the power beyond his limit. Is it because of the polar star? Lu Chen looked up at the star in the sky and narrowed his eyes slightly. The human sovereign realm had its limits, and the polar star had helped Lu Chen complete a breakthrough. If he could grasp the feeling just now, it would definitely be of great benefit to his future cultivation. While Lu Chen was in a daze, a white figure suddenly appeared beside him, less than 3 or 4 meters away from Lu Chen. Lu Chen hurriedly retreated, secretly shocked. When this guy approached him, he didn't react at all. If he wanted to kill him, he would have been dead already. And this was when he was in his peak state. If it was during normal times, he would be no match for him. Was there such a terrifying opponent in the battle of the gods? When Lu Chen looked at that person, he saw that the other party had no intention of attacking and was looking at him with a smile. It was an old man of the demigod race, with white hair and a youthful face. He wore a gray robe and had a sword at his waist. Lu Chen, what's wrong? From the looks of it, it seems like you still want to fight with this sovereign? That person looked at Lu Chen with a smile. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Senior, you are, me? I'm here to give you an award. If you hurt me, your award will be gone. Award? Lu Chen's mind raced. In other words, this person was the mastermind behind the scenes who lured him to the battle of the gods? However, Lu Chen had always thought that the other party was up to no good, but this old man didn't seem to be hostile to Lu Chen at all. The most important thing was that in the battle of the gods, although the 8 gods couldn't wait to get rid of him first, at least no one was secretly causing trouble. This meant that the mastermind behind the scenes only lured him here, but didn't target him. Little friend Lu Chen, what are you thinking about? Are you wondering why I lured you to the battle of the gods? The old man saw through Lu Chen's thoughts and said with a smile. Lu Chen did not answer, as if he had silently agreed with the old man. We did want to lure you to the battle of the gods, but we have no ill intentions, the old man said calmly. Then why did you lure me out with the souls of gods and devils? Lu Chen asked seriously. Well, you can only blame yourself for being too secretive. The old man smiled. As far as I know, we are not the only ones who want to find you. In the end, all of them returned empty-handed. The clues were cut off at the splitting heaven holy land. Many people went to search for you, but they couldn't find any trace of you. Coincidentally, I have news about the soul of the fiend god. You only lack the soul of the fiend god and heaven-defying celestial and demon. Whether you participate in the battle of the gods or not, you will definitely come and take a look. What I didn't expect was that you would directly participate in the competition. Haha, it seems that we have underestimated your courage and speed of growth. Lu Chen's brows were tightly knitted. He was still unsure whether the other party was a friend or foe. Lu Chen, this is your reward. After saying this, the old man tossed a storage ring to Lu Chen. There are some divine-grade pills, medicinal herbs, rare materials, a divine-grade cultivation method, and the thing you are most concerned about, the information about the soul of the fiend god. Lu Chen was astonished. You're giving me a reward just like that? The old man had a warm smile on his face. My Dao system organized this battle of the gods. Since you won the competition, this is what you deserve. If you go back on your word, I'm afraid that no other gods will be willing to join our system in the future. As for why we came to find you, if you want to know the answer, you can activate the transmission talisman in the storage ring. That talisman will lead you to my cave dwelling. It will be effective for 2 years. If you come to find me, I will tell you slowly. Alright, little friend Lu Chen, congratulations on winning the battle of the gods. If you are not willing to come to my cave dwelling now, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. After all, not everyone who comes to find you will need your help. After saying this, the old man disappeared. Just as he left, the 4 walls of the 9-star heaven formation disappeared simultaneously. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The ground collapsed, and the mountains in the distance collapsed. It was as if the entire world was collapsing. Big Brother Kwang, let's go. Bone Demon flashed to Lu Chen's side. Your sword strike just now has already caused an earthquake. Previously, there was the 9 stars heavenly array supporting it. Now that the array has been removed and the energy is being transmitted, the ground is about to collapse. After saying this, Bone Demon grabbed Lu Chen's hand and teleported away. A few people were squeezed into the small wooden house at the top of the snowy mountain. Netherworld, Bone Claw, Bone Demon, Little Beast, Little Furball, Little Originator, Rhubarb, Little Golden Carp, Louis, and Qianji's 4 spiritual puppets. Bone Demon frowned as she looked at Qianji. She asked Lu Chen, Big Brother Kwang, is this the itinerant celestial that you made into a puppet? I heard that he has become your strategist. Big Brother Kwang is indeed repaying evil with kindness. You finally managed to convert him. Qianji was speechless. Who said that I have become Lu Chen's strategist? Who said that I have been converted? Are there rumors in the divine territory too? Lu Chen smiled and said to Qianji, what is that Taoist faction trying to do? Should I go and meet them? Qianji, tell me your thoughts. Qianji's lips trembled. He was furious. Asking me again? Is Lu Chen a habit? I can't wait for Lu Chen to die. Qianji looked at his hand that was slowly raised. He said, I'm quite good at this. Let me analyze it for you. Qianji said a few important points. The Taoist faction's god descendant was extremely powerful. Since Lu Chen had appeared, they should be able to track down Lu Chen's whereabouts. They did not need to wait for him to walk into their trap to kill him. In the Battle of Gods, the Taoist faction did not do anything special. If they wanted to kill Lu Chen, they could have done something in the dark and kill Lu Chen without anyone knowing. There was no need for them to go through so much trouble. Thirdly, the Taoist priest invited Lu Chen in front of everyone. If Lu Chen died there, people might link Lu Chen's death to them. Lastly, the Taoist priest said that the Taoist faction wanted Lu Chen's help. Although they did not say what they wanted, they had already revealed their intentions. That's why I think, Qianji said confidently. There will be no danger. Little Beast interrupted Qianji. Qianji, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Dad, Qianji's analysis makes sense. But I don't think we should be in a hurry. Let's see if we can find the soul of a god first. You can go there when the time comes. It doesn't matter if they are hostile or not. At least it will be safer. Gu Mei added. There's no such thing as good or bad between the factions of gods. It's just a fight for benefits. I don't think it's a good thing for them to want your help. Moreover, didn't the Taoist priest say that the teleportation talisman is effective for 2 years? We might be able to figure it out without him saying anything. Lu Chen nodded. What Gui Mei and Little Beast said made sense. However, he was not in a hurry to make a decision. Since they were talking about the soul of a god, let's take a look at their rewards. Chapter 1460. The storage ring wasn't very big, so Lu Chen took out all of the items in it. There were some high-level pills and recipes among the prizes, but Lu Chen didn't recognize any of them, so he had to hand them over to Little Green for research. Just as he was organizing the prizes, Little Green picked up a red piece of wood and inspected it carefully. What's this? What's the use of this piece of wood? Is this sky-burning firewood? Isn't this thing extinct a long time ago? Why did they give us such a rare material? The skeletal claw stared at the pieces of wood with incredulity in its eyes. The voice of the sky pilfer sounded in Lu Chen's mind. Big boss, Chiao Nua has a use for this thing. Oh. Lu Chen hurriedly asked, Chiao Nua, do you have a use for this sky-burning firewood? Chiao Nua replied, my main body is constructed from sky-burning firewood. Sky-burning firewood is nourished by 72 types of heavenly flames, and it grew in the divine realm of the western heaven. However, the divine realm of the western heaven was destroyed, so this type of sky-burning firewood rarely appears again. Lu Chen nodded. Can the sky-burning firewood repair your avatar? Yes, I can increase my elemental affinity by 50%, and at the same time, enhance the effects of my spell techniques by 50%. If I can completely repair it, the effects will double. Lu Chen's eyes widened. In other words, the magic divine staff could double his elemental affinity and enhance the effects of his spell techniques by 100%. He roughly estimated his elemental affinity in his mind. Originally, his elemental affinity had been around 60,000, but the staff had increased it by 30,000, and the Polaris had doubled it. By the time of the Battle of the Gods, his total elemental affinity had reached a total of 180,000. If he could repair the magic divine staff, he would be able to unleash the hell of ice and fire once his elemental affinity reached 90,000, even without the polar star shield. Increasing his elemental affinity by 30,000 wasn't a far-fetched goal. Is this sky-burning firewood enough? Do you need a tool refinement master to repair it? Master, my avatar is a living thing, so I don't need a tool refinement master to repair it. Just give me some time to absorb this sky-burning firewood and I'll be able to repair it. That's great, Lu Chen said excitedly. Could it be that the old Taoist saw that Lu Chen had the chaos magic staff and deliberately let it in? Yu Ming picked up some materials from the table and said, Brother Long Quang, these materials can be used to strengthen your puppet. If you trust me, I can help you strengthen it. While I'm at it, I'll give your earth golem some defensive abilities. You've seen it for yourself during the Battle of the Gods. Once you leave the ground, your earth golem's defense will be greatly weakened. There's a branch of the undead race that specializes in puppets. There's a puppeteer who owes me a favor. I asked him to strengthen the Guardian of the Earth. Its power will definitely be more than 10 times stronger than it is now. It can improve by so much? Lu Chen asked in surprise. Netherworld smiled confidently and said, Of course. Not only that, but the puppet will also inherit your attributes. The stronger you are, the stronger the puppet will be. As long as you give me some of your blood, I will definitely give you a surprise. Lu Chen widened his eyes. The Earth Golem's defense was originally high. However, that was in the immortal domain. Now that it was in the divine domain, unless it stood on the ground and borrowed the power of the earth to weaken the attack, it was basically useless. In the previous battle, it could not even block the attack of a 2-star lower god. It would be best if it could be strengthened. Why not? Thank you, Brother Netherworld. Lu Chen hurriedly said. Qianji widened his eyes and said, Senior, are you talking about the undead race's unique puppet technique, the blood-bone puppet? Netherworld looked at Qianji strangely and said, You actually know about it. Oh right, I heard that you're a once-in-a-lifetime puppet genius. That's right, it's the blood-bone puppet. Ordinary lower realm puppets cannot be made into blood-bone puppets. This is because they are unable to withstand the impact of the modification. However, the Guardian of the Earth is different. The Guardian of the Earth uses the earth to defend against attacks. Their defense is not limited to their body. They should be able to withstand the impact. Qianji seemed to be excited. Blood-bone puppet. I finally have the chance to see a blood-bone puppet. No, I'm going to become a blood-bone puppet myself. This is unbelievable. Little Beast rolled its eyes at Qianji and said, Why are you so excited about this? Qianji was still immersed in his own world. No, you don't understand. To a puppeteer, an undead puppeteer is the god of all puppeteers. And among all puppets, the blood-bone puppet is the pinnacle of all puppets. TSK, I think Originator is the strongest among all puppets. Little Beast said in disdain. Heaven and earth essence is not a true puppet. It's only a puppet before it has a consciousness. Once it has a consciousness, it will be more like a battle pet that has a close connection with its master. Lu Chen shook his head. Although Qianji was a despicable and cunning person, his dedication to the art of puppeteering was impressive. Qianji was still so excited even if Lin Fan became a puppet. It was clear that he was pursuing the pinnacle of the art of puppeteering from the bottom of his heart. And this time, Qianji seemed to have tasted the benefits of following Lu Chen. The next treasure was a skill set called Sky Ceiling Shooting Sun Arrow. Archery? Lu Chen blinked his eyes. Previously, when he teamed up with Netherworld and the others at the sky-opening Holy Ground, he used a bow and arrow. But in the end he received an archery skill set. Speaking of which, it had been a long time since he used archery as his main weapon of attack. Lu Chen wanted a sword skill set and a spear skill set the most. Unfortunately, it was not up to him to choose the reward. After all, it was a godly skill set. It was better than nothing. What Lu Chen did not expect was that the last prize was a small wine flask. What is this wine flask? Is it a magical item? Lu Chen frowned. If it was a powerful magical item, then the rewards for the Battle of the Gods would have exceeded Lu Chen's expectations. Gu Mei looked at the wine flask and frowned. Brother Kuang, I think I know what this is. It's not a wine flask, it's a water flask. A water flask? Lu Chen was even more surprised. If I'm not wrong, this is the Heavenly Spirit Holy Flask. It's not particularly rare. Even the Celestial Realm has it, but its effects are not bad. As Gu Mei spoke, she found a slip of paper under the flask. There seems to be an explanation here. Lu Chen immediately checked the slip of paper. 3rd grade Heavenly Spirit Holy Flask. This flask absorbs water vapor and spiritual energy to produce a celestial spring. 1 flask can be filled every year. Using the celestial spring in the flask can increase one's spiritual energy by 1,500 points. After reading the explanation, Lu Chen suddenly felt as if he had been electrocuted. Could this be the origin of the legendary spiritual tea and spiritual wine? Mu Xian had invited him to drink tea, and the people in the mountains had invited him to drink wine. This is good stuff. Lu Chen was extremely excited. Back then, he had wanted this treasure every day. Although 1,500 points of spiritual energy in a year was nothing to Lu Chen, the significance of this Heavenly Spirit Holy Flask was no small matter. The flask was not big. If it was filled with wine, it would be about 10 cups. Then, 1 cup would be 150 points. It was much more effective than the tea that Mu Xian had invited him to drink. In that case, if Mu Xian also had the Heavenly Spirit Holy Flask, it should be 1st grade. Haha, I finally got this treasure. Lu Chen hugged the flask and laughed happily. The group looked at Lu Chen strangely. In a few years, your strength has increased by leaps and bounds. Why is Brother Kuang so interested in this Heavenly Spirit Holy Flask? Withered Claw was puzzled. Maybe it's some kind of sentiment. Yu Ming said faintly. Chapter 1461. At night, Lu Chen leaned against a steep rock and looked at the quiet night sky above the snow mountain. Dad. Little Beast came to Lu Chen's side and sat down. I don't know where Sister Jinli went again. She left a note saying that she's going out to try her luck. She asked you not to worry about her and to contact you if she finds anything. Lu Chen smiled slightly. If it's the little golden carp, it shouldn't be a problem. Dad, when are we going to look for the souls of the gods and demons? Lu Chen looked at the little beast, took out a map, and handed it over. Little Beast opened the map. There were 3 areas on the map. The Firmament Palace, the 9th Hell Devil's Den, and an unknown area with a question mark. There was a line of words below the map. The souls of the gods and demons are divided into the Divine Soul and the Demon Soul. The Divine Soul is in the Firmament Palace and the Demon Soul is in the 9th Hell Devil's Denver. According to the Tomes of Heaven, there was a powerful person who obtained these 2 souls but couldn't merge them. Later, the Divine Soul and the Demon Soul were sealed in 2 forbidden spiritual zones respectively. Someone has gathered the divine soul and the demon soul. Little Beast frowned. But even such a powerful person couldn't merge the divine soul and the demon soul. Then Lu Chen said, I think I have a better chance than them. After all, they don't have other divine soul sets. In the divine soul sets, some of the individual parts are obtained in conjunction with other individual parts. Dad, I don't think the forbidden spiritual zones are fun places. Lu Chen smiled. That's the forbidden spiritual zones. I'm not a god. What I'm thinking is that there's an unknown area on the map. It seems that the old Taoist left something behind and deliberately didn't leave any information. Little Beast snorted. The old guy is really cunning. He left something behind. I think he wants you to find him yourself. Dad, what should we do now? Lu Chen took a deep breath, stood up, and patted the blood off his buttocks. I feel more and more that the thing that exists in the Nine Heavens domain is the key to unraveling the entire Jiutian mystery. Even the so-called gods, lesser gods, middle gods, upper gods, main gods, supreme main gods, I hear that each of them is more powerful than the last, but aren't they still inferior to the Jiutian? Then, how terrifying is the strength of the strongest person in the Nine Heavens domain? Lu Chen looked at the little critter with a resolute gaze. Perhaps only a set of super-powerful equipment that has never been collected before is qualified to contend against a transcendent existence that no one knows about. After saying that, Lu Chen took a deep breath and said, Little Beast, you guys stay here first. I'll go find that old Taoist. Dad. Little Beastie immediately stood up nervously. We'll go with you. No need. If he really wants to harm me, we won't be able to stop him. Lu Chen looked at Little Beast. There aren't many opportunities to cultivate in the 8 heavens. During this time, you take Little Furball and the others to cultivate in the Splitting Heavens Holy Land with Bone Demon and the others. As long as you don't go too deep into the Splitting Heavens Holy Land, you'll be safe in the periphery. Little Beast thought about it. Dad was right. The most important thing for them now was to increase their own strength. But Lu Chen pinched the transportation talisman, and in the blink of an eye, he was already at the foot of a celestial mountain. The celestial mountain was shrouded in clouds and mist, looking both real and illusory. Celestials had their own paradise, while gods lived more casually. Bone demons lived in ordinary wooden houses, but some chose to live in caves with rich spirit chi. As soon as Lu Chen appeared, a deep voice sounded. Lu Chen, you're finally here. After he finished speaking, 3 figures appeared from the fog. One of them was the old Taoist who gave Lu Chen the award. Lu Chen was always vigilant. When he saw the 3 appear, he said in a deep voice, What do you want from me? The 3 looked at each other and smiled. Lu Chen, let me introduce myself first. My celestial name is Tai Xing. This is Xian Zhen, and this is Dao Chen. The 3 of them had white hair and white beards, but they were not from the same race. They were from the god-descendant race, the ancient spirit race, and the last one was in human form, but he shouldn't be a real human. Xian Zhen raised his hand, and a stone table and 4 stone chairs appeared in front of the 4 of them. Since you're already here, let's sit down and talk. Xian Zhen took out a teapot. Let's talk while drinking tea. Heavenly Spirit's sacred pot? Lu Chen recognized the teapot in Xian Zhen's hand. Xian Zhen smiled. We gave you a 3rd grade one, and mine is a 5th grade one. How about it? Want to have a drink? Lu Chen pondered for a moment, then sat down. Looking at the rainbow-colored glass cup that Xian Zhen handed over, Lu Chen wondered why he couldn't change it to a bigger cup. The Dao Chen looked at Lu Chen and said, I really didn't expect you to take 1st place in the Battle of the Gods. Lu Chen drank the tea in his cup and pushed it back to Xian Zhen, indicating that he wanted a refill. You used the soul of a god to lure me here, but only gave me a clue about the soul of a god. Why did you go through so much trouble? Since I'm already here, why don't the 3 of you be straightforward? Tai Xing said, We called you here because we want you to take a trip to the outer world. Lu Chen froze, then looked at Tai Xing and waited for him to continue. Tai Xing continued, The Jiutian world is divided into 2 parts. One is the Jiutian's main body, and all the worlds devoured by the Jiutian are its main body. The other part is, for example, your world. It hasn't been devoured by the Jiutian, but it's still being integrated into the Jiutian system. The outer world I'm talking about refers to the worlds outside of these two parts. For example, the world you've been to. Lu Chen frowned. Go to the outer world? The worldly Taoist said, we don't know the true face of Mount Lu because we're here. We've been cultivating in the 9 heavens for thousands of years, but we still don't know what the 9 heavens are. Is the Tao we're pursuing the Tao of heaven and earth, or is it just the Tao of the Jiutian? We've never considered this before, but now we want to know the answer. When one's strength reached a certain level, the way they thought about things was different from before. They would think of ways to pursue the origin. Lu Chen looked at the three, thought for a moment, and said, but why do you have to find me? I'm not even an intermediate god now. The three looked at each other and laughed. Lu Chen, how can we accept your words? How long have you been in the 8th layer? How long have we been cultivating? Your current rate of growth is unprecedented. We chose you not only because of your great potential, but also because of your identity as the human emperor. There's a passage in the 8th layer that's said to lead to the outer world, but no one has ever been able to pass through it. You have too many special things about you. Perhaps you're the key to opening this door. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. Go to the outer world. And Lu Chen, you have a reason to go to the outer world. Don't forget, all the rumors say that the heavenless gods and demons don't exist. Will they appear in the outer world? After a long silence, Lu Chen took a deep breath. If I agree, what's in it for me? In addition to the information about the heavenless gods and demons, there's one more thing. Tai Xing smiled and looked at Lu Chen meaningfully. With life. Chapter 1462. Where's Mu Sheng? What's she like now? Lu Chen was practically using an interrogative tone. He was simply too anxious in his heart. Tai Xing said, I don't wish for you to think that we're using this to threaten you. I can tell you 2 things. Firstly, Mu Sheng's life isn't in danger. Secondly, she's no longer the Mu Xing you know. Lu Chen widened his eyes. What do you mean? Tai Xing sighed. Her consciousness has already been erased. Lu Chen suddenly slumped onto the stone bench. Consciousness erased. In other words, even if Lu Chen found Mu Sheng, she might just be a root system of Hongmeng. She didn't know Lu Chen, nor did she know Yao. Mu Sheng no longer had her own consciousness. After a long while, Lu Chen weakly said, Is there a way to break it? There's a mutated beast, nightmare taper, in the man-eating dream realm. I'm afraid that's the only way to awaken Mu Sheng's memories. Lu Chen took a deep breath and didn't say anything else. He only asked, when will the exit to the heaven realm open? 5 years later. If you want to go, we can provide you with a place to cultivate, allowing your strength to improve in these 5 years. After all, the heaven realm is chaotic and filled with danger. Furthermore, Lu Chen, we're asking for your help, but there are people in the 8 factions who want your life as well. You're the safest here with us. Lu Chen looked at the 3 elders and asked, what kind of place can you provide for me to cultivate? We can send you to a low-grade god cultivation world. A day of cultivation there is equivalent to 10 days. Lu Chen slightly frowned and suddenly said, no need. I'll find a place to cultivate myself. I'll look for you in 5 years. When Lu Chen returned to the little wooden hut on the snowy mountain, the little critter and the rest immediately surrounded him. Lu Chen roughly explained the situation. Dad, those old fogies are really bad. They themselves can't go out, so they want you to go out. They themselves said that outer space is dangerous. The little beast said indignantly. Then it looked at Rhubarb. Rhubarb, the old man said that the Jiutian people can't get out. I don't believe him. Then how did you fight the Lord God back then? I also created a crack to come in. Rhubarb answered. The little beast was a little embarrassed. Rhubarb's words seemed to confirm the words of the 3 Taoist elders. You used to be so fierce? I didn't expect you to be so cowardly now. Rhubarb also said, let me emphasize again, I used to be the Black Devil Sovereign. However, boss, the outer world is boundless, and there are countless experts. It's too dangerous for you to go to the outer world with your current strength. Lu Chen, on the other hand, seemed very calm. If the negotiation this time was a competition, the three Taoist elders' trump cards were just too powerful. He had no chance of winning at all. No matter what they think, no matter how dangerous the outer world is, I must go, Lu Chen said calmly. I promised Yao that I'll bring his mother back to Earth. Rhubarb, do you know where the nightmare taper is? If I go to the outer world, I wonder if my old subordinates are still around and if they've betrayed me. If they're still around, it won't be difficult to find the nightmare taper. The little beast said with a frown, that's right. I forgot that Rhubarb is from the outer world. Didn't the Taoist elders say that there are people who want Dad's life? We can avoid them if we go to the outer world. If that's the case, the outer world seems to be a good place to go. Rhubarb said with a nod, there's something else that's very important. Lu Chen and the little beast looked at Rhubarb. Rhubarb said calmly, Furball's evolution. It's not a creature from the Jiutian to begin with. All these years, it's eaten the most, but it's only increased its attributes. There's no qualitative change. The answer might be in the outer world. Squeak, 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 squeak. Furball said that it wanted to go to the outer world to take a look. After the discussion, they realized that going to the outer world this time might be an opportunity for them. The little beast asked, Dad, it's fine if we go to the outer world, but why don't you accept their cultivation ground? Although a cultivation speed of 1 to 10 isn't considered fast, the key is that we can maintain this cultivation speed for a long time. We don't have a better cultivation ground now. Lu Chen shook his head. There is. Where? Inside the Holy Land. Lu Chen said with certainty, the deeper you go into the core area of the heavenly opening Holy Land, the more abundant the chaos spiritual energy is. Moreover, there's a Heaven's Might rock in the Holy Land. I can absorb it directly. It's a great deal to find one. It's just that I have to take a look at the soul of the divine demon now. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen said, Little beast, Rhubarb, Furball, Origin, you should go to the Holy Land with Yu Ming and the others. You can improve your strength while waiting for me. The little beast also knew that it might not be of much help in places like the Firmament Palace and the 9th Underworld Devil Cave. Dad, you have to be careful. Remember to act according to your ability. I know. Early the next morning, Lu Chen went to the residence of the 3 elders of the Dao faction again and asked them for the transmission charm to 2 forbidden spiritual zones. The 3 elders were straightforward and gave the transmission charm to Lu Chen. Lu Chen, this is a forbidden spiritual zone. We don't know what's inside, so remember not to barge in. Lu Chen agreed and pinched the transmission charm. He first arrived at the planet where the Firmament Palace was located. This planet was different from any other. There was no sun or moon, and the sky was chaotic. The starry sky was colorful, like a galaxy without a dome. A huge white vortex was spinning in front of him. It was 1,000 meters high and hundreds of meters wide, towering between heaven and earth. The vortex at the entrance of the cave was surging, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Other than that, this world seemed to be a barren world. It was as if this world existed only for this huge transmission gate. There was a stone tablet under Lu Chen's feet with a line of words written on it. The entrance to the Firmament Palace is where the ancient god resides. Gods are not allowed to enter. Ancient god? Lu Chen frowned slightly. The divine soul is here? Symbiosis of gods and demons. Dragon god form. Emptiness of gods and demons arm. Lu Chen directly activated many statuses. He held the god-slaying spear and carefully approached the stone tablet. When he stepped into the inner test of the stone tablet, a bolt of lightning directly struck Lu Chen from the clouds at the entrance. Rumble! The lightning was so fast that Lu Chen could not dodge it in time. However, after the lightning flashed, Lu Chen found that although he was hit directly, he was unharmed. The lightning had disappeared, and even the scene at the entrance was much calmer. Does this mean that I'm allowed to enter? Lu Chen was not sure, but he continued to approach the entrance. When Lu Chen stood in front of the transmission gate, nothing unusual happened. Forget it, let's go in and take a look. Lu Chen took a deep breath, tiptoed, and shot directly toward the entrance of the Firmament Palace. After a familiar dizziness, Lu Chen opened his eyes. When he saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned. The world in front of him was colorful. It was not a picture, but a combination of many pictures. On the ground, a huge figure split the chaos with an axe. In the sky, a huge figure with a human body and a snake tail flew into the sky with a colorful crystal in its hand. A giant was chasing the red sun in the sky. A man emitting golden light held a huge bow and shot 8 arrows into the sky. Lu Chen's mind was in a mess. Pangu created heaven and earth, Nuwa mended the sky, Kwafu chased the sun, Ho Yi shot the sun. Chapter 1463. In this world, Lu Chen was as small as a black duck. Lu Chen entered the Firmament Palace, but was stunned by the scene in front of him. This is the untainted world? Lu Chen's eyes were full of surprise. No, these things didn't happen at the same time. How could they appear here at the same time? The creation of the world and the mending of the sky obviously couldn't have happened at the same time. There was more than one Nuwa here. One was mending the sky, and the other was creating humans by the river. Is this space-time turbulence? Lu Chen looked back. Fortunately, the exit was still there. Speaking of which, before entering the 8th level of heaven, the gods in Lu Chen's mind should be these people. At this moment, Nuwa filled the hole in the sky with the rainbow god's stone. She turned around, flew down from the sky, and stopped in front of Lu Chen. Nuwa, goddess Nuwa. Lu Chen was a little nervous. If these legends were true, Nuwa was the creator of mankind. It was inappropriate to call her senior. However, in the space-time turbulence, could Nuwa see him? They should be in different space-time. Nuwa smiled and said gently, Lu Chen, we meet again. Well, not only could Nuwa see him, but she also remembered that they had met once before. I didn't expect you to reach the 8th level of heaven in such a short time, and Nuwa paused, her eyes falling on Lu Chen's chest badge. You came to the god realm as a human sovereign. Lu Chen's mind was still buzzing, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. Lu Chen, do you have a lot of questions? Yes, goddess Nuwa, can you answer my questions? Nuwa smiled, and her body shrank from a huge half-snake half-human to a human form similar to Lu Chen's. Finally, he didn't have to look up to speak. This is space-time turbulence. What you see now is what happened in the past. Nuwa and Lu Chen stood side by side, looking at the many scenes in front of them. The primal chaos, Pangu's creation of the heavens, the descent of the 3 sovereigns, and the birth of the human race, all of these have happened before. And we are all ancient gods. Ancient god. Lu Chen frowned. When a god falls, he becomes an ancient god. Nuwa said, Fallen. You guys have already fallen? But I've seen your war soul before. Like you said, it's a fighting soul. Nuwa smiled. Sometimes, a fighting soul can exist longer than the original body. Many things that cannot be done by the main body can be done by the war soul. With a loud bang, a huge rock on a distant mountain exploded, and a monkey jumped out from it. As soon as the monkey was born, it disappeared like a wisp of smoke. When Lu Chen saw this from afar, he couldn't help but gasp. He seemed to know what had happened to the stone monkey. Just as the rubble was about to explode, Nuwa raised her hand. A tiny piece of rubble shot over from the distance and was caught by Nuwa. Lu Chen, you need this, right? You and I have met twice, and it can be considered fate. Take this as my gift to you. It was said that the rock that gave birth to Sun Wukong was the divine sky-mending stone. Divine sky-mending stone powder. It was one of the materials that Lu Chen needed to revive Xiao Min. Thank you, goddess Nuwa. Nuwa smiled and threw the fine stone to Lu Chen. At this moment, Pangu, who had split open the heavens and earth, also noticed Lu Chen. In a flash, he appeared in front of Lu Chen. After looking at Lu Chen and Nuwa curiously, he shrank his body to about the same size as Lu Chen. Lu Chen was also paying attention to Pangu. His appearance seemed to have the characteristics of many races. His face was resolute, with some characteristics of the myriad spirit race. His body was muscular, and he was also the tallest among the gods. He was somewhat similar to the Titan race, with his arms reaching his knees, and also somewhat similar to the god-descendant race. Nua, who is this? How can he enter the space-time turbulence without being affected? Nua bowed slightly to Pangu. Great god Pangu, this is a human from the future. When the space-time turbulence was chaotic, a fragment of the divine sky-mending stone fell here when the monkey was born. My war soul went to look for it and we met once. Pangu frowned slightly. So that's how it is. There are precedents for humans to become gods, but 3-star fiend god human emperor, and a mutation? Pangu saw Lu Chen's level at a glance. Human emperor. If I remember correctly, no human has reached this level after my death. Nua nodded. That's right. In the past 3,500 years, the highest level human was a 9-star immortal venerable. Pangu nodded. So, kid, you're walking the path of extreme human Tao? But what's with this mutation of yours? Lu Chen was a little embarrassed. Senior, Pangu, something happened when I was transcending my tribulation. I didn't succeed, but I didn't fail either. I went from a 9-star monarch to an 18-star monarch, and then I entered the 6 paths illusory realm and broke through to the human emperor realm. Pangu frowned slightly. So you had such a miraculous experience. Interesting. You have 7 pieces of Fiend God Fate Reversal on you, your mental cultivation method is at the 8th stage, and you've reached the 8th transformation of the 9 transformations of the Fiend God. So, you're looking for the soul of a Fiend God, aren't you? Pangu scanned Lu Chen's situation with a single glance. Lu Chen cupped his fists. That's right. If Senior Pangu is willing to tell me the whereabouts of the soul, Lu Chen will be eternally grateful. Pangu laughed heartily. Kid, you've gone through so many hardships to finally reach this point. It really hasn't been easy. It's not impossible for you to want the soul, but you have to tell me why you didn't hesitate to enter the space-time turbulence to search for the soul of a fiend god. Pangu's smile faded as he looked at Lu Chen with a serious expression. Lu Chen took a deep breath. These 2 great gods were unfathomable. He'd better tell them the truth. Senior Pangu, I'm doing it for power. Lu Chen said. I want to collect the Fiend God Fate Reversal set and ascend to the peak of Jotian. Ascend to the peak of Jotian. Pangu narrowed his eyes slightly, seemingly dissatisfied. So, you're just a person who only knows how to pursue power. Pangu snorted coldly, his attitude instantly turning cold. If you want to become stronger, go cultivate yourself. Lu Chen's heart tightened. Pangu was dissatisfied with his answer. Judging from Pangu's tone, Pangu should know where the soul was. It might even be on Pangu's body. Seeing that Pangu was about to turn and leave, Lu Chen suddenly shouted, Senior Pangu, please wait. Is the divine soul with you? Pangu stopped and slowly turned to look at Lu Chen. Yes, since I said I'm not giving it to you, why? Do you want to snatch it? Saying this, Pangu turned around and a silver ball of light appeared in his arms. He put the ball of light beside his feet and looked at Lu Chen. This is the soul you want. You won't be forcibly drawn into the space-time turbulence from where you're standing now. However, if you dare to take another step forward, once you step into the turbulence, with your cultivation, you'll never be able to leave here. Don't you want the soul? Then come and take it. Lu Chen's eyes widened as he stared at the ball of light on the ground. Senior Pangu, is there really no other choice? No. I never go back on my words. Pangu looked at Lu Chen indifferently. Chapter 1464. If you don't dare this time, then you'll never get the divine soul. Pangu just looked at Lu Chen quietly. At this moment, Lu Chen suddenly dodged and rushed directly into the out-of-control turbulence. Even Pangu and Nua didn't expect that Lu Chen would rush into the divine soul so decisively. This kid, Pangu's eyes widened. According to common sense, shouldn't he think for a long time? Why did this guy rush over without even thinking? Time war! Pangu shouted and raised his hand. A wall suddenly appeared in front of Lu Chen. He couldn't dodge in time and crashed into the wall. In an instant, Lu Chen found himself back to the starting point. This is space-time skill. Lu Chen looked at Pangu in disbelief. Pangu glared at Lu Chen. It's not a space-time skill, it's the comprehension of the heavenly Tao. You stinking brat, why don't you act according to common sense? If I didn't have some tricks up my sleeve, you would have been swept to God knows where. Lu Chen answered honestly, didn't Senior Pangu say that if I don't dare this time, I'll never get the divine soul? Even if I enter the space-time turbulence, since you two can come out from it, there must be a way out. I can only try. You're really bold. Pangu shook his head. Our strength in your eyes, is it so easy to reach? Lu Chen didn't know how to answer. It seemed that he had accidentally offended a big shot. Nua smiled. Great God Pangu, this child's heart is as firm as metal. He must have a reason to become stronger. I think we should give the divine soul to him. Pangu looked at Nua. You seem to think highly of him. Is it because he's a human? Nua shook her head. All races are equal in my eyes. However, since the last time we met, I've been paying attention to him for a period of time. He's a little different from ordinary people. It is very difficult to find someone who can cultivate to this day without forgetting their original intentions and have a clear conscience. Pangu looked at Nua and pondered for a moment. Even you praise him so much. This person should be worth trusting. However, the fate-defying fiend god is of great importance. Among them, heavenless fiend god has disappeared for 10,000 years. I'm still a little worried. Hey, Lu Chen, do you have time recently? Lu Chen was a little confused. Why did Pangu make it sound like he was inviting him to watch a movie? I'm going to outer space to help the Tao gods in 5 years. I'm also looking for the nightmare taper. If I can get the god fiend's soul this time, I'll head to the Genesis Holy Land to cultivate immediately. Lu Chen explained his schedule. Pangu frowned. A day here is a year in the outside world. What? Lu Chen's eyes widened. He had been here for some time. Didn't that mean that 1 or 2 months had passed in the outside world? Time was of the essence for Lu Chen now. Pangu waved his hand and said impatiently, "What's the rush? Isn't it just cultivating in the Genesis Holy Land? I'm the one who created that place." Although that was what he said, it did not seem to help Lu Chen at all. Going to outer space in 5 years. Let me think. Pangu stroked his chin. In other words, I'll have to go out for about 30 days. 30 days is still doable. I should be able to hold on. After thinking it through, Pangu said to Lu Chen, "Kid, if you want to integrate the God Fiend's soul, just having the God Fiend's soul isn't enough. You'll need to synthesize 2 souls. The conditions for synthesizing are extremely harsh. Once there's a mistake, it'll cause the 2 extremes to be unbalanced. In serious cases, it'll cause chaos to return. This is no joke. You have the God Fiend's heavenly might and the chaos spirit core. Theoretically, you can indeed integrate 2 souls, but your ability isn't enough. How about this? I'll go out and cultivate with you for 30 years. I'll come back after you've successfully synthesized the God Fiend's soul." Lu Chen's eyes widened. Pangu wanted to go out with him? But I have to make it clear first. I can only accompany you for 30 years. If you haven't reached the level of a high-level deity by then, I'll take back my soul. This is also a test I'm giving you. 30 years to reach the level of a high-level deity? Lu Chen blinked his eyes. Senior Pangu, how many stars does the strength of a high-level deity correspond to in the human sovereign realm? How would I know? Generally speaking, there have been a few human sovereigns in the past. At that time, a 9-star human sovereign was roughly equivalent to a 9-star lesser deity. But you're abnormal. How would I know how many stars are abnormal? Senior, I'm not abnormal. I'm a mutant. What's the difference? Your form has changed. Isn't that abnormal? It seemed that the abnormal that the great god Pangu spoke of was not the abnormal that Lu Chen understood. It just sounded a little awkward. Forget it, whatever the great god said. Anyway, when the time comes, I'll tell you how many high-level deities you defeat. After Pangu finished speaking, he looked at Nuwa. Nuwa, while I'm out, help me keep an eye on things. Got it, great god Pangu. Nuwa smiled slightly. It's just that, with your temper, you'd better control it when you go out. Don't make too much noise. Also, change your appearance so that you won't be recognized. Otherwise, I'm afraid that when the time comes, the 8 levels of heaven will change. Pangu thought about it and felt that it made sense. He glanced at Lu Chen. With a wave of his hand, his appearance had already changed into a human form. And there was an additional badge on his chest. What level should I write? Pangu looked at Nuwa. Nuwa thought about it. How about a 1-star mid-level deity? Okay. Then, Pangu directly engraved 1-star mid-level deity on the badge. Title. Pangu looked at Lu Chen's badge and wrote, God and Demon. Immortal title. Pangu scratched his head. How troublesome. Dezhuang. Soon, Pangu finished writing his badge. 1-star mid-level deity God Demon Dezhuang. Lu Chen's face darkened. Pangu had plagiarized his title. And he had actually given such a retarded immortal title. God Demon Dezhuang, what kind of weird name was this? Great God Pangu, what was your original level? My level? The Jiutian doesn't have the qualifications to define my level. Pangu said rather domineeringly. Alright, let's not waste any more time here. Let's go and return early. Did you get the demonic soul? Not yet. Lu Chen said. Then let's go to the 9 underworlds. God Demon Dezhuang was even more anxious than Lu Chen. He directly walked out of the exit. Lu Chen. Nuwa called out to Lu Chen. Lu Chen turned back in surprise. Does Empress Nuwa have any other instructions? Did your father mention anything about your mother to you? Actually, I haven't met my father yet. If I can go to the Skyspan prison, I'd like to ask him about my mother. Lu Chen thought for a moment, then asked, Empress Nuwa, why are you asking about my mother? Do you know something? Nuwa shook her head. I'm not sure either. But you seem to be different from ordinary people. Perhaps I'm overthinking things. Hurry up and go. Don't let great god Pangu wait too long. Lu Chen thought this was the case. He once more cupped his fists towards Nuwa. Many thanks for the gift, Empress Nuwa. Words cannot express my gratitude. Farewell, Lu Chen. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.